I'm just gonna get started. I'm gonna go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Good evening. I want to welcome you all to the, we do this kind of annually almost, our organization, Oyate for Fairness and Equal Representation, our forte in the past has been getting, we started out seeing the disparity and the disenfranchisement, getting tribal members elected to the Cherry Todd Board. It took some doing, but in 2012, it took about 7-8 years, but we have a majority board. We do other elections and the like. We do tribal community engagement. We've helped over 800 and some people get their stimulus payments. Beginning, we got used to it, but nobody really knew what was going on, including us, but we had a lot of help from the Internal Revenue Service. And I was one of a select group of people, the only Native American on the IRS, a group of 50 to, for communities that are organizations that are from the grassroots that are Chewachash and Halloween that are helping people get those payments. But we also do these forums, because I just want to, preface all this. I should that we've already set the invocation and the meal prayer. We noticed I was an election board for a while. I sat it on this table as one of the elected people for a decade. I was a 90s guy, and the elections seem to have evolved somewhat. Everything evolves, it doesn't remain stagnant. But when I was an election board, I noticed a lot of people say that, well, we really know who they are, what do they stand for, so I think these forums give you, every of the candidates, the opportunity to know what your thoughts are, what your platform is. Paula Antoine, they'll be, when I get done, they'll be interviewing, they'll be introducing themselves. And this is Paula Antoine, she's with the Opera group. Also, she's really, we got a really good group. Rose Cordier, from our Opera group. We have Ricky, she's one of our Rose daughters, the Beauvais, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So make sure about that. I don't think we did this last year. We're just all coming out of the pandemic, and I think we're coming through I see it like a time of depression. A lot of the people thought because we felt disengaged. In a lot of cases for our own tribe, because we couldn't go out and do anything, But I really, I always have, a lot of optimism when it comes, to the direction the tribe is going, even though we complain a lot, there's a lot, but it requires good leadership. This to give you the opportunity to say why you would be part of that good leadership. It's short notice. There's Paula will be saying who all the candidates are, and there's a lot of them here. Again, there really is. But and I've asked some of you before that, and if you're listening, this is being broadcast over Channel 93 and YouTube. It's changed from clear back when everybody seems to know each other because we have this technology that's available. So I've asked you guys, so are anybody listening? Paula will be mentioning who all these candidates are, and Brookie, so let them know that they have an opportunity tomorrow. Tonight was for the council candidates, but any of the officers, they could come here. Or if they hear about this, if they're listening out there, in Rosebud Sioux tribal homelands or within or without, because you can ask questions on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you go to the thread, and I can ask you guys those questions on YouTube. Otherwise, Paul would explain about the questions. They're not loaded questions, not really controversial. But you'll have 3 minutes per question. And then, at the 1 minute mark, I'll be your timekeeper. And I'll just go like this here. Paul will explain all that in more detail. But please just let people know that, anyone listening also that they have an opportunity tomorrow. Like I said, a lot of candidates. But I'm going to be quiet now, and Paula and Brooke will be doing work from the hard work here. So again, thank you guys for coming. that you guys have introduced yourself and stuff, but I'm going to turn it over to Paula.
Shante Washte Yuhana Pechi Usati. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Oyate for Fairness and Equal Representation Candidate Forum.
Yeah.
As everyone knows, there will be a primary election on July 27th, 2023, and we encourage everybody to come out and vote. I know that the pandemic and you know, there's a lot of things that went on in the past few years that limited the voter turnout, but I would just like to encourage everyone to get out and vote because, you know, all our decisions, especially our vote, will help shape and guide what's going to happen in the next few years and maybe for the next 7 generations. And I just want to say my name is Paula Antoine. I've been with OFFER for maybe 8 years, and we did a lot of grass work, community organizing to ensure that we have a large percentage on our local cooperative board. But right now we're doing our forums, so I'll give you a little bit of information about that. First, I'll read off all the candidates and the official certified candidates from the Rosebud election office, and this is from Shakira Radling. Rosebud Sioux Tribe 2023, the official certified candidates for the office of officers. We have the tribal secretary. We have Calvin Eugene Hawkeye Juan Jr., Nicole R. Marshall, Brianna Herman. For tribal treasurer, we have Dr. Ruti A. Stone Davis, Louis Wayne Boyd, Kamalian Wilcox, and voter registration for the primary election closes on July 13th, 2023 at 5 o'clock. So if you're not registered to vote, we encourage you to contact the RST election office or the secretary's office and pick up a voter registration form. You can contact the election office at 747-3187 or the tribal secretary's office at 747-2381. On the 27th, the polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we would just like to say after that, the general election will be August 24th, 2023. And if you have any other questions or concerns, please stop at the RST election office. Here's the number again, 747-3187, or stop by the election office. It's in the annex building behind the tribal office. And she will be available for your questions, and that's Shakira Rattling. And I'll read half of the candidates for the 2023 Rosebud Sioux Tribal Council. These are the official certified candidates for the tribal council seats. And due to I'm related to one of the candidates, I will not be asking the questions, and I will just be reading half of the council seat candidates. For the Oak Creek Tribal Council representative seat, we have Cecilia Fasthorse, Wayne Fredericks, Stephen L. Marshall, Orlando Morrison Jr., Talisa Fasthorse, Stephen Denoyer III. For Parmalee, we have Lisa Schott, Berlinda Quickbear, Emily Boyd Belonja, Leah Running Bear, Ramona Strait, Philip Little Thunder, Leo W. Grew Sr., Archie Brown, and Mark T. Tuigo. For the Soldier Creek representative, the candidates are Marvin Ted Thinnout Jr., Norman Running Sr., Kathleen Woodenknife, Gwendolyn Blacklance, Crystal Tuelk. And for the Spring Creek representative, we have the candidates are Pamela J. Kildenwater, Linda Kills Insight, Darwin Walking Eagle Jr., Tokia Kills Insight, and for the two-strike council representative seat, we have Ben Black Bear III, Martina Crow Eagle, Ivor Crow Eagle III, Donna Hollowhorn Bear, James A. Ironshell, and Kimberly M. Crow Eagle.
Right. So for this year, candidates for Black Pipe, we have this segment. Vincent Vinnie Charging Hawk, John Stands by Ear, Leroy Jr. Morrison Jr., Christopher Eagle Bear, Aisha Claremont, Gilbert Morrison. For Butte Creek, we have Travis Wooden Knife, Arnetta Rosie Montoya, Paul Joseph, Brandy Betleon, Michelle Montez. For Grass Mountain, we have Vanessa Red Hawk Thompson, Gary M. Hacker, Michelle Hollowhorn Bear Traversy, Joshua Whirlwind Soldier, Sean Whitehawk, and Valencia Beth Grew. For Ideal, we have Charles DeBray Jr., Chanel Blackfeather, Kelly Turney, and Martha Tools. And for Milk Camp, we have William Bill James Marshall and Byron Andrews Sr.
And tonight we have several of the candidates with us, and we would like to take the opportunity to ask them questions. And we usually get together and put together a list of questions and provide them to all the candidates. But this year we decided to change it up a little. And so what we've created 11 specific questions, and what we're going to do, we have each one of the questions in this box. And so we're going to reach in, pick out a question, and do you want to go through and first have each candidate introduce themselves? And then we'll go back to the questions. We'll take out a question and ask one of the candidates in the same order.
Okay.
Okay?
Paula, I just want to mention that, how about 7:15, 7:30? We'll have let you guys call it 7:15, 7:30, there should be a break. And we already have a question on YouTube. Maybe after the break, I could ask, maybe show these questions to you. So from the tribal membership. It's a good question. I was like, wow, I never thought about that, but that's why it's good to engage the tribal public, tribal membership. So maybe after any of you listening, if you have questions, remember you can ask those questions on YouTube. But after our break, I'll give that to you, and you guys can, look them over and maybe phrase the questions however you want to. So that's 7:15, 7:30.
Yeah, and I just want to say that the contact numbers on the flyer or on the announcement for the forum, there are cell phone numbers on there. So if you feel comfortable and have the opportunity to text any one of the numbers on there, you can text them numbers and ask your question. And each candidate will be allowed 3 minutes to introduce themselves. And at a certain point, after 1 minute's available, Ron will hold up a sign to give you a warning to kind of start winding down. And then when we go back to the questions, each candidate will be allowed 3 minutes to answer each one of the questions. So if you want to go ahead and start introducing everybody so they can...
I'll have a question. So, do those questions apply to tribal council? Because the roles are different, like the constitutional duties are different, so for the position, am I answering tribal council questions? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
The questions apply to the officers and the council rep.
Yeah. They basically do, but there are a couple that are specifically for the tribal council representatives. So we'll avoid them when we ask your questions. Thanks for that. That's a good point, thank you.
Sure. But, kind of, ask those kind of questions there, because I'm just a bystander at this point, except for when it comes to YouTube, so that'll be facilitated there. I just need to welcome the closing, but, if something comes up, the questions, remember some of you coming from, I'm glad you brought that to, important to note that we have this, even though this is tribal council, that we do have, one of the officer positions, that's a valid point,
And also at the end, we have a general question for everyone that kind of just goes across the board too. So I'll let Ricky go ahead and take over.
Maybe I should go around, first introduce
Yeah.
yourself, or get into the.
Yeah, she's gonna.
Go around,
We'll just start from the left. So we have James.
Okay.
James Ironshell from Two Strike. Kelly Turney from Ideal. And Christopher Eaglebear from Black Pipe. Emily Valandra Boy from Parmalee.
By the way.
And Hawkeye Juan, who is running for tribal secretary.
And that's from left to right, my left to right here.
Yeah. So those are who we have here in the chambers today. So now we.
Yep, just go ahead and let them give a brief introduction of themselves.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
So, I'm talking out patient tail I'll pay choose out below. I'd like to say good afternoon, good evening to each one. My name is James Arnold Ironshell, and I'm running for the position of a council representative for a two-strike community. I'm a family guy, so I have 5 daughters, I have 2 sons, and then my wife, she's got 6 boys and 2 daughters, so blended family, we're kind of like 15. So it's a lot of fun. I like family. I like to do things. I got a bunch of grandchildren and great-grandchildren already, even though I look really young. But that's my main focus, my main concern is my family, my children, my grandchildren. But then on top of that too, I was raised a certain kind of way. And I was fortunate enough to be raised, I guess someone would say traditionally. My father, my grandfather, all of those people were really influential in my life. The way that I was told was that, if you're going to do something like this, you better be certain that that's what you want to do. You're going to represent your people. If they ask you to represent them, you got to be a certain kind of way. You have to be able to have some understanding. You got to have some forgiveness. You got to have some charity in your heart. And you got to be able to look forward to what's best, what you think is best for the people, and listen to them so that you can form your opinions on what their voice is telling you. So, I've tried to be like that my whole entire life. My life has been one of service to the people. I was always in a position where I was looking after or out for someone else. Been a provider, a protector, served in the United States military, also a law enforcement officer and corrections officer at different times. And then I even had my own business there for about 20 years after I got out of those roles. So I've seen quite a bit of things that have gone on amongst our people. I guess my main focus, my main priority is our nation, is our people. Wow, what are we doing for them? How are our people going to survive? Our children and our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. What are we leaving them? What kind of legacy do they have? What kind of future do they have? What kind of opportunity do they have? What kind of goal are they setting for themselves that they mirror from their leadership, from their mother and father, their families? So right now, I know everybody tries to do their best, but it's not looking real good right now. I'll be real straightforward and honest with you. I have a lot of doubts, you know, about the future prospects of our nation. There's a lot of people that are coming after us. The United States government is main one, primary one. You know, they would like nothing better than to see us not succeed, you know, trying to fold us into the mainstream population. But we can't be that way. We're Lakota. We're Sichangu. We have to remain like that. We have to keep that alive, you know. And then we have treaties that were never honored, still won't be honored. But we have to find an even ground, a way to let our voice be heard again. I kind of look at us as the invisible people, you know, of this country. And that's what we are. Everybody overlooks us all the time. Every kind of legislative action taken, it's usually, they might tie something on at the end, but we're always completely overlooked. Even in healthcare, even law enforcement, and technology, every single thing that they come up, we're 10 to 15, 20 years behind when it finally gets to us and we're able to get on the same page with them, you know. So they like to keep us in that position. I want to make sure that we're not in that position any longer. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to visit with you.
Thank you. Kelly Tierney.
Hello, my name is Kelly Turney. I'm running for council representative out of Ideal. My grandparents are Jake Antoine and Lavina Milk. And I'm running for council. Excuse me. I see running for council as an opportunity to do a lot of good things for our tribe. Just a little bit about myself. I have a master's degree in business administration, so I'm really interested in economic development and our tribal businesses. That's what kind of motivated me to run for council, is to improve tribal businesses and economic development. I'm also for education, and that's, I'll keep it brief, and that's what I got.
Thank you. Go ahead, Chris.
You know, the badge point and stuff, I guess, kind of project voice-wise? No? All right, okay. Great.
Jackie, my name is Christopher Eaglebear. I'm running for the candidacy of the Black White community. On my maternal side, my mother is Melissa Eaglebear, and she's the daughter of Russell and Marcita Eaglebear. And on my paternal side, my dad, his name is Trent Oki Pointy, and his parents are Teresa and James Pointy. My biological father, his name is Ray Chekwa Jr., and I'm the grandson of Ray Chekwa Sr., the late Ray Chekwa Sr., and Carmen Whitehorse, great grandson of Nancy and Sam Whitehorse. Going forward, I know I'm the youngest one of the youngest running mates here going forward in the candidacy. I'm 25 years old, and for the last 25 years, I've been let down by all the leaders ahead of me. You know, I'm a product of a failed system that we try our best to move forward in a good way. And I understand that it's not one person, it's not another person, it's a whole bunch. And no one's to blame at the end of the day. When we go back on our way of life, when we go back to how we were raised, we all struggle through something. We all have a story from one another. And my big thing is starting to get the understanding of the healing that we have to go through so that we can become the strong nation that we once were, that we still are. Whenever I go anywhere, I'm proud to say I'm from the Rosebud Sioux tribe, because that's where I'm from. That's where my people are from. You know, we're Sichangu, and that name means something. Our people ran through fire so that we can be here today. And look what we do with what we have. Look what we end up abusing. We end up abusing power. People will say whatever they can get just to get into this little idea of power, and once they get it, they run with it. I'm a fellow product of the youth that these leaders before me have promised to protect, have promised to enlighten with the generational wealth that we're supposed to have. my grandfather, I was raised by my grandfather, and rightfully so, I have a good, strong traditional values that hold dear to me, and I live through them. Like just right behind me, you have the 12 Dakota virtues, and you gotta live through each and every single one of them to truly be on that level of understanding that, how they say at the end of every prayer, "Mitaki Oyase." What does that mean? That means for the people, that means all the people, that means a circle. Our council goes in a circle, but we are not in a circle when it comes to tribal politics. We have more politicians than we do leaders. And so my voice, or what I plan to do going forward, is to be the transparent leader, the sober leader, the active leader, the person that allows you to give your power back to you, because that's what they do here. They steal from you. They steal money. They steal your voice. They steal your identity. You know, we've been fighting the United States government for many years, many generations, and now we're fighting our own. It shouldn't be like that. And so a vote for me is not a vote for Christopher Eagleberg. A vote for me is a vote for each and every one of you that have feel your voice has been taken from you, have feel your power has been taken from you. Just know you're worthy and shall talk to us.
Thank you. Go ahead, Emily.
Thank you, everyone. Dr. Emily Boyd-Valandra, Macha Pichwok. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Offer, for putting this on tonight, and hello to everyone out there. It's a little bit about me. I was born here in Rosebud at the old hospital, the fifth of 6 kids to my mom, Brooke Tuhawk Boyd, and Wayne Boyd, my dad. I come from a big blended family. Like the gentleman mentioned earlier, I'm also a big family person. I created a big blended family as well. I have a background in environmental science and ecology. I worked for many, many years here for the tribe, starting with land and moving over into our natural resources department as a biologist. Most recently, I've been doing a lot of work remotely, still for our people, but kind of on a different scale, regional, national, and even international. And I really want to bring all that back home. I think that we have such beautiful people, and we have beautiful lifeways, and I think it's time that we bring those together. I have a background in the environment, like I said, and I hope to be able to bring that forward and be a bridge and a connector to help, boost our economies and boost our future, but in a sustainable way that's in balance, that brings in our language, that brings in our lifeways, but also brings in the future and brings in adaptation and technology. So I really hope that I'm able to talk a little bit more today through the answering of questions to give you a better background or better insight into my background. But again, thank you for this opportunity today.
Thank you.
My name is Shu Makao Yasaku, the horse that comes back winning. My English name is Calvin Wong Jr. Everybody knows me by Hawkeye. I would like to thank Offer for this opportunity. This is a great opportunity for candidates, especially new candidates. So I really thank you guys for this opportunity. I'm seeking office for the tribal secretary. The reason I'm running for tribal secretary is lack of transparency within tribal government. We do not know what's going on within our government. A lot of this is from our tribal building being locked down for years, not having access to things. One of my opponents, the current tribal secretary, is running on transparency. I disagree. I'm going to call the kettle black. I disagree. There has been no transparency whatsoever. I want to create a tribal website, a dump tank. As an example is, everybody here is part of a committee. You guys meet, your following meeting, you approve those minutes in real time. Once those minutes are approved, they go immediately on that website for public access. Nobody should have to drive down to Rosebud, waste their gas, and come into the tribal building to request public documents. They should be electronically accessible to every tribal member, on and off the reservation. That's one goal that I will do is that public website. One thing that I really think is, this young man touched on it all is, you know, it is. Us as tribal members are being robbed of money. The reason I say that, and I agree with them, is because the ARPA committee minutes seem to be so classified. You know, the US Pentagon declassified aliens and UFOs, but yet we can't even have access to our ARPA committee minutes, you know, when they're public information. And right now, they're talking about severance pay for outgoing council representatives. I want to explain the lack of transparency regarding some of that stuff. The last council meeting, there was 2 budget and finance committee resolutions that were not read into record. You read resolutions into record so everybody knows what the resolution is about. Prior to that, every resolution was read into record except those 2 budget and finance ones. Well, we're going to request and see what those are. So, you know, the severance pay, you know, you have Unchi, you know, Lekshi, Tui, Ate, you know, out there, some of them living without lights right now. But yet you're talking about paying severance pay to elected officials. You know, vote for change. If you're tired of what's going on in this room right here, then vote for change. Because I'm tired of it, and I know a lot of you are. So, you know, it's time to vote for change. I guess my time's limited, but there's a difference between a politician and a leader. A politician's invested into a small group of individuals. They stick together, you know, they work together, but we forget what's out there. A leader is invested in the people. My loyalty is to the people. You know, I always say, you know, warriors fight for the people. You know, and what I see here, you know, especially, you know, I like to see a 25-year-old young man putting his name on that ballot. You know, I haven't seen that in a long time, you know, and, you know, this young lady here, you know, all of them, you know. I think it's time for change. So I'm asking you to vote for me for tribal secretary on July 27th. Thank you.
Thank you, Hawkeye. We had another candidate come in, and it is Leah Running Bear, who's running for Parmalee. We're just introducing ourselves right now and letting everyone know a little bit about ourselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Leah Running Bear. I grew up in Parmalee. I've been Vice President of Parmalee Community since 2018 to President and currently running for Council Representative Parmalee. My mom is Michelle Shawaturos. My dad is Lonnie Running Bear Sr. My maternal grandparents are Alvina Sleeping Bear and Dawson Shawaturos. My maternal grandparents are Mary Running Bear and Wayne Otterman. I do come from a big family, basically related to everybody in Parmalee on both sides. I'm committed in creating a sense of belonging and respect for all community members, all members of their community. I'm dedicated, a visionary, bringing transparency and accountability to our governance. No, I don't think I can talk 3 minutes, but yeah, that's the short part of it.
That's fine. Thank
I
you.
just want to mention here, that's really interesting. You know, some of this stuff, you guys, will be coming up, that you touched on, will be coming up to the answer. And then to get a bit there, I suggest we just give you as much time as you want, you know, hold this up toward the end, but you know, don't get too elaborate, you know, but I want to mention, because I really think it's, I know a bit older too, because they ask you, say, how sharing, they ask you to say the invocation, you know, the old guy in the room. So I heard that all the time. But also, you know, and I've seen it in the historian guy a lot, you know, well, that's right, he's been around forever, he knows about, you know, like, what's the procedure, tribal councils, tribal governments in the past. But one of the more fascinating things, like, you know, 25 years old, I think that's amazing. Other young people, I know your family, I know your families, know all your families. Your Teoshpai and everything. But 25, there was a friend of mine, who's no longer, he's in the spirit world. He was 24 when this was years ago, about like during the 80s or something like that. Like during about maybe late 70s, early 80s. He was 24 when he filed for office. They just said that he didn't qualify, but by the time of election, he would be 25. So he, when he turned 25, he was just a few days before election, and he was elected. That's the, so here's I want to say you're young, I don't want to, but you're young. It's about his age, you know? It's good, you know? But that's just a little history for you. Thank you.
Okay, and I just wanted to mention too that some of the questions were from the public who called in or messaged with their questions and contacted Rose. So I just wanted to mention that. And we were hoping to have more candidates from each community, but we do have candidates from the Black Pipe, Ideal, Parmalee, Two Strike, and an officer for tribal secretary. So I'll just go ahead and let you ask the questions. We're going to draw them from the box. I'll just take them up and let her draw, and then
Okay, here's the question.
who are you going to ask?
Oh, are we just going all
I
through?
thought we were going to just
Or just-
go down, ask, you know,
Okay.
the first,
So we'll start
the
with
first
James.
candidate, and then we'll ask a different question for
Oh,
each
okay,
one
okay.
to kind of get the thoughts rolling.
So this will be for James and Michelle. What are your thoughts and understanding of our treaties? Please explain your answer.
Okay, thank you. I have a really significant understanding of our treaties. As it came to be, my grandfather was one of the original negotiators and signers of the 1868 treaty. He's also involved in the 1851 treaty. There's some basically some promises that were made by the United States government to treat with us for peace, so that we would continue to not war with them, even though they were infringing and stepping onto our lands and trying to take control of them. We stopped. They wanted us to stop. They wanted peace with our people. That's not just the Sichongu, but the whole Lakota Nation and our allies, the Cheyenne and the Arapaho. And the things that were promised to our people, I'm sure a lot of us are aware of it. There's many different aspects to the treaty. There's different ways it can be interpreted. A lot of things that were spoken about when the treaties were being made, the interpreters for the United States government didn't have a full understanding of our language, and the interpreters that they had didn't have a full understanding, or their understanding was limited and not in line with the wishes of our own people. So even in that aspect, the way that we presented ourselves, or the way that our wants and wishes were presented to the United States government, the treaty commissioners, wasn't really representative of our true thought. So one of the big things that everybody always talks about, that everybody's always aware of, is the Black Hills. So we've come out, we've been on record from the beginning, from the signing of the treaty, even prior to the signing of the treaty, even prior to 1851, since we controlled this region of North America. They're not for sale. They'll never be for sale. We don't want to sell anything. We should have every right to go into the Black Hills and create any kind of business that we want to create there in order to generate some revenue for our people, in order to generate a future for our nation. Mr. Obama came down here and thought that he was going to solve the problem of the Black Hills. Well, he didn't do anything to solve the problem of the Black Hills. The Black Hills still remain in our control. They should remain in our control. We just got to have to kind of find a way to make the United States government actually honor at least one treaty with us, and that would be part of the 1868 treaty. You know, I see this happen all the time, and you guys can attest to that. You start going west towards Rapid City, you see all these businesses, all this stuff going on. You're further on into Deadwood or any other surrounding community. We're the most economically depressed community people in the entire state of South Dakota. Pine Ridge, or the Ogallala Lakota County, is #1. The most economically hardest hit county in the entire United States. We're #2. So what does that tell you? To me, that's by design. That's by design by the federal government. That's by design by the state of South Dakota. And we, every once in a while, hear some of our leaders make mention that, oh, well, let's play nice with the state of South Dakota because we're going to get something from them. You know, that's not the case. It's never been the case. The state of South Dakota wants criminal jurisdiction over our people. They want civil jurisdiction over our people. Should never happen, ever. And for instance, just for instance, I'll give you an example. There's a Department of Justice grant that came out, about 5-6 years ago, where they're going to set up a kiosk at law enforcement or at the tribal court. The purpose of that Department of Justice grant was to share all the information of every single member of our tribe. Every single member. Every crime that you might have committed within the Rosebud will be shared with the state, will be shared with the federal government, and will be used for enhanced sentencing against our own people. I spoke against it. I was sitting on the Judiciary Committee. Melissa Eaglebear spoke against it. She was working at Adult Corrections and still is as the facility administrator. We spoke against it, but we were denied a voice to the rest of the people. We told them that it's got to go out to the people. The people need to understand what you guys are proposing. The people need to have a voice in how that's going to affect their life. So, but that never happened either. Never did go to the communities. There never was a discussion. Only happened at Judiciary and on Council, and it was never made available to the rest of the people. So little do you know, that's in effect right now. $800,000 grant changed our whole entire jurisdictional outlook within the state and the federal government. It's a fast track to felony prosecution. It's a fast track to state felony prosecution. It was a bad move all the way around. That's just an example of what I was talking about. So I think I kind of went over my 3 minutes a little bit there, but I'll stop there.
Some of the stuff was circling around, you guys must have that opportunity. Back
Yeah.
around.
Thank you, James. Okay, Kelly Turney, what are your thoughts on creating a government-to-government relationship with the state of South Dakota?
My thoughts on creating a government-to-government relationship with the state of South Dakota is it needs to be improved. Right now, it seems like we don't have a very good relationship with the state of South Dakota. There isn't a lot of concern from the state of South Dakota towards our tribe. That's how I feel anyway. And I think that it's important that we strengthen that relationship or create one. It seems like there isn't one or it's very weak. So them are my thoughts on the government-to-government relationship. It needs to be improved.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. On to Chris Eaglebear. How do you envision the tribal council helping the chronic homelessness on our reservation? Please elaborate on your thoughts and ideas.
Can you repeat that?
Yes. How do you envision the tribal council helping the chronic homelessness on our reservation?
First off, to help the chronic homelessness on our reservation, we need to understand why they're homeless. We need to understand the process of the ones that are homeless. There comes time and time again of trying to heal our people, but we can only do so much for someone unless they don't want to do it for themselves. We can do as much, we can invest as much as we want into helping the ones that don't have a place to live, but say they have, like the ones in Mission right now, the homeless shelter, they already have a prime example of that. Like, they only allow homeless members that are actively working on being sober, that are actively working on trying to better themselves so that they're not homeless in the future. You know, going forward, I feel like our council, we need to understand that there's this, not everybody is the same. You know, there's always this thing of like, we need to do it the right way, the equal way for everyone. Well, someone's up here working, you know, maybe they're not even homeless, maybe they just got kicked out for like 2 weeks and they just need a place to live. But then you have someone right here that chooses to be homeless, that chooses to sit on a pity pot and make themselves look bad for everyone else so that they know they'll get the handout. We need to understand that there's a fine line between helping the homeless and then helping the ones that act homeless. And so I feel like that's where we need to start as a tribal council, is understanding that fine line, and going forward that there are a lot of people that prefer to be homeless for the handouts that they get, for the addictions that they abuse. You know, a prime example, Rest Stop. Go there every day and you see the same 5 people out there every day. No matter what you do, no matter how you try to help them out, 6, 7 days, a month later, they're back there again because they choose to live that life. And that's one thing that we, not only as a council, but as a nation, have to understand, that life is about choices. You know, we can do as much as we want for them, but it's up to them to accept that help, to want to be not homeless at the end of the day. And so that's how I feel the tribal council should look at the chronic homeless issue.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, Emily Landra. Should the tribe publish in a manner that is available to all tribal members tribal council reviewed and approved financial statements of the tribe? So, similar to what Hawkeye was saying. Do you want me to read it again?
I think I got it. Okay. So I think this one gets a little bit tricky for me anyway, from my perspective, because I think it goes down to our policies and what those are, and then being able to enforce them or implement them. I think when it comes to like something like financials, it's very important to be transparent and to have a way to have outward communication, but it's also important to have those internal protections because we are in the time of, cyber, security and those types of issues. So what I see it really comes down to is we need to kind of diversify or look at different ways that we communicate with our people. I think originally when it came down to like having tioshpayes or, communities that you had conversations with and then they were able to bring it back to leadership that way, that's what worked then. So I think if we can have this time to say, okay, where are we right now? What still works? How can we improve on those communications? How can we improve that we are allowing time from this discussion to happen with our people so that our leaders truly can enact decisions that are based on what our people need, what our people want. So I know the question is more specific to like financial policies, so I apologize, I'm being a little bit more general here, but I really feel that it's important to be general because it applies to so much. I think that if we're able to include our people, not as seen as well as if we go out to every community or if we include the people, it's going to slow down progress. I think that if we can get away with that way of thinking and are more towards, we need to enable our people to be better singers, to know that their voice is important. I think for so long, we haven't had a seat at any table, not even our own. So I think that's where we need to start first, is improving ways to have communication from our families, from our people that don't have internet, that don't have phones, that may not have reliable transportation, but maybe still want to offer something or still have something to offer. So in, foundation, breaking it way down, I think that's how far back we need to go to address something like open transparency for anything, for any kind of whatever. But to answer the question, I guess a little bit more specifically, I do think we need to improve that. I do think our people are owed not only open communication, but we are owed to know about our own happenings and to know, to have that inclusion. But again, I think we can't just put everything up on the internet, or we can't just, something like that. So I think it's really time for us to think of how do we want to be Lakota in 2023? How do we want to communicate with our leadership? How do we want to make sure that our voices are at our own table and then shared beyond that? I think it's really time that, yes, we focus on progress, but I think it's also time to refocus on who we are as Rosebud, unify that way, and then make sure that we have open communication outward and inward. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. So, Hawkeye Juan. If elected, what would be your thoughts on ways to improve our tribal casino regarding income and revenue? How do you think that tribal casino revenue should be best utilized for our people?
Thank you. One thing we need is what we see a lot of right now regarding our casino is recycled money. What you see is tribal money going out and, it's being spent and then it's coming right back in. We need more outreach. We need more, if you're going to still reach out into Nebraska, if you're going to try to steal some of them customers in Tripp County so they're not going over to, Yankton Sioux tribe, trying to draw some of them in. If you want our casino to grow to what it used to be, there's got to be some sacrifices. One, from its administration, and two, from its council, to make it work that way. There's a fine line and you can keep that balance. That balance there is satisfying your tribal members and giving them their rewards, but you also got to walk that fine line as you need to bring in non-tribal member, non-Indian money into your casino to be spent. That's what funds your programs. That's what creates programs, is that revenue. And if you can't make those tough decisions in this room, then you're going to watch this casino continue to fail and drop off the map. And pretty soon they might have to shut doors. I've seen Fort Thompson, the Lodestar Casino, had to shut its doors for an extended period of time. We don't want our casino to do that. So, there's a fine line there that they have to, from the administrative standpoint. Also, what I see is a lot of micromanaging coming from here. That doesn't need to go on. You have a board. If you don't like what your board's doing, then eliminate your board. But when you select those individuals, they're the ones that oversee the management of your casino. You select the gaming commission, they oversee that. There's way too much. Tribal council needs to be reminded of their roles. In Article 4, from A through V, it spells out what their duties are. Nowhere in the administration does it that they involved in the day-to-day operations of anything. They delegate that authority. If they want it back, amend the Constitution. But until then, we're still going to run into these roadblocks. Our casino is the way it is because of our government. That's just plain and simple. That's the way it is. You can cater to both sides to make this work. But you got to have strong leadership to be able to tell both sides no sometimes. You have to be able to let those reins go and trust your management to run the operation without micromanaging. That's the only way our casino is going to work. Thank you.
Okay.
the secretary.
How many words a minute can you type?
Okay, next we have Leah Langford from Carmelie. Your question is, knowing that all candidates campaign on promises for our youth and elders, what would be a true way to help our children and elders that is feasible and not an empty promise?
I am running for that exact reason because I believe that Harmony community can grow bigger if we have the right resources and people in the leadership. I plan on, there's a lot of community members who don't have vehicles, so laundromat and another store, a treatment center, all of those will help the community. And I heard
Elders.
the elders will
You want me to read the question again? Okay. Knowing that all candidates campaign on promises for our youth and elders, what would be a true way to help our children and elders that is actually possible and not an empty promise?
true way would be dedicated to the work and accountability and integrity on what they are campaigning for, economics and our land. To me, the land for the elders, to give them a voice. But also embrace the changes. I think our community is like, we're not poor, but we're resource poor. We're rich in our resilience, accountability in budgets. I think just sticking to those as when you're campaigning as a leader. For me, actions, words mean nothing. I'm all about actions. And I believe that with my dedication and hard work, I will give the youth and elders a voice to be heard and change in our community.
Okay. Thank you.
I just want to make one expression. Not every candidate campaigns on the elder and the youth or the promise to them. I never did. My promise is to the people, to the nation. It might include the elders and the youth, but I'm not running on promises to the elder and the youth, so I just wanted to state you.
Yeah, and like you said, some of these were suggestions and texts and that came directly from people. So they contacted with these exact questions.
Right.
So, yeah.
Good.
And Ron, do you want to take a break right now?
Yeah, we could take a break, but can I just, it's moderators, but here's the thing is, I see that I could talk about, we moderating just stuff like, see something, oh, I could have answered that, here's the thing is, I'm not being stingy on the time, give me the time, because there's not as many here. But remember, in closing remarks, it's time as you want. Let's circle back to it. If we don't, this is, then you can mention those things, write down your notes and take whatever time you need. Tashi, because you were saying that this is what you can do, but I'll take down notes, and when you give your closing, mention these things,
Yeah, if there's a question that you would have liked to answer, then you'll have time to.
maybe then raise your hand and say, hey, let me take a shot at that one too.
Yeah, that's fine.
I would say I want a shot at that too, Anyway, if you want to break, that's all you're called.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Take
Paul,
a,
come
take
back.
like a 15-minute break and then come back after.
Hey, you guys have to ever look at the YouTube thing, there's questions down there?
Ron said unlimited.
One.
Welcome back, voters and citizens of the Lakota Nation, Sichundu. We're back to our candidate forum, and we have one more question that we're going to talk and ask each candidate what they would, how they feel about it, and give them the opportunity to answer that. And then after that, we'll wrap up and give each candidate an amount of time to just talk about what they want to talk about what they plan to do, you know, maybe a little bit more on their background, and just a little bit more so the voters will understand who they're voting for if they do not know them, and we'll give them that opportunity. So we had a couple other questions that were...
Can I just go, since this is going to go more quickly than the past ones, because all the people we had here, I could just go for 5 minutes. Just go for 5 minutes, you know, for the time limit. So I'll probably go 5, you know, so at 5 minutes, I'll give you 1 minute deal, you know, so you guys have more time.
You don't have to talk for 5 minutes.
You don't have to talk for 5 minutes. You don't have to. No, you don't. I'm just saying, but 5 minutes, I am gonna go. If not like this, you can see, Elvis likes to keep Cadillacs, so I like to keep paper, so I'll have my Elvis speaker there. He's got 1 minute after 5, that'll give me 6 minutes.
So maybe...
But you don't have to talk for 6 minutes.
Yeah, you don't have to talk for 5 minutes, but at the end, we would surely like you to offer as much as you can about yourselves, because, you know, this is the opportunity for you to let people know who you are, and for them to get to know you, because, you know, our reservation's pretty big. It takes 3 or 4 hours to drive across, so some people on one end of the reservation might not know the candidates that live on the other end. So it'd be a really good opportunity for you guys to express yourself, get your views out there, and get your personality out there. You know, let them know who you are. You know, I realize it's kind of intimidating, and you might be a little bit nervous, but that's okay. You know, that's okay. You want to go ahead and you want to do the question, or do you want me to read it?
You might know who you are each time.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can do it. Okay, so this is a question for all candidates, and if you need me to read it again after someone speaks, I can. The popular buzzword among candidates this year is transparency. Please describe, explain, and give the definition of transparency and what it means to you, and how you would be transparent if elected. So we'll start with James.
All right, thank you. Just like Paula said, I'll remind you who or where, what I'm doing. I'm running for the seat out of two-strike council representative position. And, you know, transparency, it shouldn't be a tricky issue. It shouldn't be a tricky question. It just means being straightforward and honest with people. That's what transparency means. It means not having a hidden agenda behind you that you're going to, all of a sudden when they're not looking at you, promote forward for something else. And that's what transparency is. Me, myself, I've never ever agreed on executive session. I've never agreed that there's anything that the tribal council speaks about that every single tribal member should be able to talk about, discuss, and make a decision on. There's nothing that should be hidden from the people at all, whatsoever. Except for maybe personnel issues. When it comes to them talking about somebody specifically, personnel issue, that, yeah, I can maybe go along with that being a executive session type of situation. We've never agreed with them going into executive session for the council, for the casino report. When they're talking about finances and the things that are going on out there, we have a right. Every single tribal member has a right to know what's going on with our casino. Every single tribal member has a right to know about what this council's doing when they go into executive session. You've seen it before, it's happened before. People go into executive session. 5 minutes later, everybody on their phones knows what's going on when the tribe was in executive session. You've seen that. You know that happens. So why have executive session? What's the real reason? What's the purpose behind that? If you think that we're not smart enough to understand what you're talking about, you're sorely mistaken. You're wrong. We're very intelligent people, and we should have every opportunity to weigh in on everything that affects our people. We have our traditional tribal government that we used to have operated on 3 principles: traditional law, spiritual law, societal and cultural law. Well, that's 4, but it's the same thing. So those principles were put in together, and we're a patriarchal nation. Okay? So I don't know if you understand what that means. There were reasons why our people were put in the seats that they were sitting in. Used to be because of the way that you took care of your children and your family. You were a protector, you were a provider, you were a warrior, you were a defender. And you earned those rights through those things that you participated in. Our chiefs had to complete almost a total of all 7 of our sacred rites and rituals that were handed down to us by the White Buffalo Capital. Does anyone do those nowadays? Does anyone complete or satisfy that protocol that we had in place? No, it's not. It's not being used. It's not happening any longer. We had societies, men's societies and women's societies, war societies. That's where our youth had somebody that they could look up to. They had somebody that they could look up to as an example of the kind of man or woman that they wanted to develop themselves to be. And they had the opportunity to be trained by their older brothers, their uncles, their grandpas, the rest of the allies that were within that Chilspire and within the nation. They had that opportunity to do that through our warrior societies, through our women's societies. Paul was a member of a women's society, you know, and these things have fallen to the side. They're not being practiced. If we're going to save our people, if we want our people to be Lakota, if we want our people to be strong again, we have to pick these things back up. Through the research that my older brother, Tony Ironshaw, was doing at one point, we used to have a Tokala society here. That Tokala society, we believe, came from the Northern Cheyennes. They shared that with us. So I had the opportunity to speak to the guy that was in charge of the societies that are still functioning. They're still part of their tribal government today. You know, they police their own tribe. So I had a chance to visit with them. They said they'd be willing, more than willing to reshare those societies with the ones that they have that are functioning. There's some things that we would have to do in order to re-energize and re-motivate and reopen those different societies. And we should be doing that today. You know, what do you have to look up to? Again, what do you have to look up to? You have an educational system that's sorely lacking. It's failed. I'll say that again. Our educational system has failed. Because the kids that are going through high school right now, I have kids that were in Todd County. I have grandchildren that were in St. Francis. Those people are not properly prepared to enter into a post-secondary education. They're not. And the ones that do, they're not motivated or driven in order to succeed once they leave from here. They're not supported by the tribe. They're not supported by higher education. You're lucky if you have a family that has money that can help you get through college. Those are the ones that are succeeding. There's some that are driven, like Mr. Turning, and others of us that have gone into higher education. You know, but that's only from a personal standpoint. We should be challenging our children. We should be challenging our youth at the highest standard, the highest level available in the United States, in the world. You know, we got these guys that are wandering around here, they can barely spell their name, they can barely add 2 and 2 together, algebra, trig, calculus, all these different things. It's like a foreign language to them nowadays. And that's supposed to be the language that frees our people from the chains of oppression by the United States government. Education is supposed to do that. Math is supposed to do that. STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. That's what our focus should be for our children. We should push them, challenge them every single step of the way. I don't think we should have summer breaks. I think we should go to school all year round. Prepare and develop our children to step out and be leaders in education, to be leaders in politics, to be leaders in government, to be leaders in economic development, to figure those kind of things out for our own people. We need to push our people forward, our people first. Take a look at the African Americans around the country. They push their people forward. They don't get behind them and then somebody's moving upward and jump on them and grab them and pull them back down and let them try to swim back up. They don't do that. They encourage, they empower their people, even if they're not, you know, per se what they're actually looking for. But we should be doing that. We have 567, 76 different tribal nations, maybe more now, since those rancherias started being recognized, you know. We have a body, National Congress of American Indians. The Rosebud Sioux tribe isn't even a member of the National Congress of American Indians. We don't even put a voice into that body because we decided to pull out. So what do? How do we get that voice? How do we make that connection with all the rest of our people all across the country? There's a way, you know, there's a way to do it. We just got to figure out how to do that. We have to empower our people. And if we can't empower our people, if you're not part of the problem, if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. And we see that every day in our tribal programs, in our tribal government, and those other various enterprises that we try to get up off the ground. What has our tribe developed recently? I'll tell you. One of the questions was, do you believe in Class 2 gaming? We just opened up a Class 2 gaming facility at Prairie Hills. It's not big, 50 machines, but it's open. May 26th, it's opened its doors. So we have that. I support it, you know, but that's not where the money is when you're talking about gaming. We need to have a different demographic that we can pull from. We have land in Chamberlain, not too far from the golf course over there, right next to the interstate. If you look at Siston, Dakota Magic, they started out with a real small building, about the same size as this here. But because they have a rolling demographic, 24/7, 365 days out of the year, they built that into a beautiful casino that gives revenue back to their people. And it makes it so that they're not in poverty like we are. So those are some things that we need to think about doing, you know. If we're going to diversify, if we're going to have economic development, we're going to have growth as a nation, we need to start thinking out of the box. And it can't be always, oh, well, we tried that, and it didn't work. No, that's, you know, that's just a real easy way of saying, no, we're not going to do anything, because it might take a little bit of work to do that, and to develop that, and to process that, and to bring it back to the people. So, as far as transparency goes, I believe everything should be transparent. Everything. Because our people have a right. They're tribal members, they have a right. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Okay. Hallie Turney.
Okay, who you are, where you're from, I don't need to tell you that, but
We're gonna do the same
your
question
name,
for everyone.
twice, where you're from,
And then
you know, your opening and closing, what community, what your name is, what community.
So, Hallie Turney of Ideal, just the same question. Describe, explain, and give the definition of transparency and what it means to you, and how you would be transparent if elected.
All right, well, once again, my name's Kelly Turney. I'm running out of the Winter Ideal Community. And how I feel about transparency is I'm for it. I think James got it right. He said it's just truth and honesty. So truth and everything that should be transparent needs to be transparent. And there are some things that where you can't be transparent, like personnel issues. And it's just finding out, well, there's no finding out. It's just there are certain things that can't be transparent and certain things that need to be transparent. And I believe like the question about the financial statements, can't remember what it was, but about financial statements being transparent and available to all tribal members. I believe tribal members have a right to know everything that's going on, financially with the tribe. They should have access to financial statements. Everyone should. Policies, everything like that needs to be transparent. But as for transparency, I'm for it. And
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Next we have Christopher Eaglebear, Black Pipe.
Transparency is the name of the game. That's how it should be. That's how it used to be. Our people used to run by that way back when. Who we are today, we obviously know that that's just a word thrown around. We know that we have cliques. We know that we have people that are stingy with their knowledge, that feel like just because they have this title council member that what they do in here is for them and them only. This council was made way back when for the people, by the people. Elected officials were here just to be the middleman that makes the laws here and goes back to their respective communities and tells the people what happened. And then today's era, we have media, and as time goes on, technology is going to keep advancing. And so I'm sure we all know that we've all seen a meeting where they go into executive session and that's it. That's the whole meeting for us. We don't get to hear or know what happened after that. Transparency. Our elected officials are brought in for a reason. And even though they don't run it like the way we used to, where it was just the community voting in their person, it's the whole nation, or it's the whole nation voting a person in. It's their duty as that elected official to give back to that nation that voted them in. And obviously, talk is talk and walk is walk. And we'll only know who we really are as individuals once we get in there. But I'm the vice chairman of my community, and I keep it up front and official with them too. What we do in our personal time is our own personal time, but when we get into these seats, whenever we go to work, we have a duty to give it back to the people. We have a duty to be present in these moments and to be coherent so that they can understand what's going on. Time and time again, I remember coming to these meetings with my grandfather when I was a little kid, even up into my adolescence, to my teenage years, to my early adulthood years. It was ever since COVID came up. After COVID came, just like the rest of us, we were shooed out. And that's when all you're not on council, you don't deserve to know that. That's where that stinginess came in, that's where the cliques came in. They've always been here, but they define themselves more often. When it comes to the council, we have a duty to the people. This whole idea of being stingy is a mindset. This idea of being greedy is a mindset that is not our own. It came across the sea over 300-400 years ago, and we perfected it to a T. The biggest lie that we accept and tell ourselves is that the people in here are right. Maybe we don't deserve that. And that's one of the biggest lies that we believe. That's false. What we do in here is a right to the people out there, is a right to the people off the reservation and on the reservation. Because whenever you hear Rosebud Sioux Tribe, it's not him, it's not me, that's not you, it's the people. It's not this little area in here, it's the people all around. That goes beyond just the reservation boundaries. That goes, through and through to everyone that has a place here, that calls this place home at the end of the day. It's their right to know what this place is doing. And that's what transparency means to me. And that's what you'll get with me too.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, Emily Alondra Boyd of Harmony.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody who went before me. I don't have to say all of it because I agree with a lot of what they said, but it allows me to expand a little bit more also, so thank you. I do agree that transparency is open, honest communication. I think it's difficult because, you know, we inherited these policies, we inherited these processes, kind of a broken system, right, that we've been hobbling along for a while now. So I think we really owe it to our people to now allow us to thrive, not just survive and not just, you know, live, but really to be able to thrive. And in order to do that, we have to make our policies our own, our procedures our own, and part of that is ensuring that open communication, and I know I said this before, is included on every level of that. So I mean this with the most respect. I don't mean to sound disrespectful at all, but I do not believe that our tribal council representatives should be heroes in the sense that they should be in here making decisions for us without us. I think that in order to be a true leader, we are just elevators of voices. We are just collectors and bridgers and braiding, you know, all of that, and then being that voice. But if we don't have connection to our people, if we don't know, or if our people don't even know the decisions that are going on in here, you know, we talk a lot about constitutional amendments and, you know, these resolutions and things, and I kind of gasp, like, you know, how are we even to that point if our people don't even know, you know? So I think in order to have transparency, we have to stop at the very bottom and build up. And again, that sounds overwhelming, right? Like, it's so big, like, how are you going to do that, especially in a 3-year term? You know, I'm not going to fix it all. It's just, how can we start? How can we plant a seed or create this spark or create a foundation to then build on? It didn't get here overnight, right? It took lots of time to get to this situation. So change is going to take time. But our job as leaders, or in this room, what I feel is we have to provide that time. We have to provide that space. And in order to do that, we have to be transparent. We have to communicate. We have to allow time to let our people be informed so that they can provide input. Like, we have so many untapped resources sitting right now at home, hopefully listening somehow, but that want to be engaged, that are scared to be engaged or don't know how to engage, or be like, oh my gosh, you know, I don't even know how to start, you know, things like that. And so how can we unify us as Sioux Lakota people first? How can we find out what makes us first? And then let's build these other things, and then let's make our policies work for us. Right now we're finding ways to work around policies or work within policies that don't fit us. We should be sovereign. We should be able to say, this is the need, this is the policy, and this is how we're going to address it. Not, the BIA told us this, or, you know, this is how it's always been for 50 years, so this is how we're going to continue to do it. Our people were not stagnant. Our people survived, you know, near genocide because we were not stagnant, because we found ways to adapt. And yes, assimilation might have been a way to adapt in the past, but thankfully we're at a time where we no longer have to only be assimilating or only be in survival mode. We are thankfully, you know, at this place where we can develop our own procedures, develop our own policies with our people in mind, with our culture and our language and our lifeways in mind, with, you know, our community, with our lifeways, but also how do we make a living? You know, I hear a lot of people talk about economic development, and yes, money is important, right? But money should not be the only thing that we place value on. Our relationships to each other, our relationships to this earth, the health of our water, you know, the health of our children, those should also have value. How much, you know, relationships and connections we're reconnecting to our foods that are growing in our fields out here. You know, we have so much land, yet our people are starving, or are beasts, but starving for nutrition. There's so many things that all tie in together. And if we can start at the very base of who we are as Sioux, what that means, and then grow from there. And so again, I will ask everyone, not only in this room, if you're listening, however, to read that Constitution, to ask why we have 2 Article 6s, to ask why we have conflicting language in there, to ask why we have to find ways around or to find ways to benefit from a correct system rather than making it work for all people. Why shouldn't everybody benefit from that? So I know I'm going a little off track, but I just hope that you can see how it's all connected, and that transparency and open communication and ensuring our people are why we're here is the base of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
5 minutes, exactly. No, you had 1 second left.
Okay, next we have, I just wanted to, just a reminder, Hawkeye Wan is running for tribal secretary.
Thank you. Transparency. I think the office of tribal secretary is the key to transparency to our people. The flow that comes from within this room flows out of that office. To me, it's kind of twofold. There's a responsibility here for transparency. Some council reps do it. I give them credit where credit is due. But their responsibility is to report from the community that elects them. You know, they are supposed to attend community meetings and give community members reports. You know, does that happen? No, because you hear communities complain. It does not happen. You hear some things, you go in there, well, we can't talk about that. When they ask questions at community meetings, oh, we can't talk about that. The only thing that really isn't transparent on air, that the only time it should be cut off air is for a legal issue, a personnel issue, or any type of negotiation. That is the only time you should be off air. If you have nothing to hide and you have nothing that you feel is G7 classified, you should stay on the air. Transparency is a hidden, if you don't want to be transparent, which you haven't been, you know, tribal government needs to be honest to the people. You haven't been. And and what caused that is money. Money caused that. Because we started putting our hand into the cookie jar inside this room. And pretty soon, 1 cookie became 2 cookies, and pretty soon it was 3 cookies. Pretty soon people were walking out with boxes of cookies. So, you know, that's the truth of it. So when you do things like that, it's hard to be transparent. It's hard to look us tribal members in the eyes and say, you know, yeah, we did do this, but, you know, what about us? Transparency coming from that secretary's office. If you're transparent, tell me why Leah here gets $75 for medical travel, I get $100, but Emily's a little more serious, so she gets $150. Well, how does somebody in this room get $50 or $500 at will, whenever they want? That's transparent. So I want our tribal government to be transparent and explain that to us. How does that happen? How do you get $500 when, you know, we don't even get to fill our tank when we need to go to an appointment? Explain that. Transparency is being able to put tribal member, elected official. Tribal member, elected official is showing the dollar amount what they got from council donation. It's not a HIPAA violation because you're not talking about any medical condition. You're not attaching any documents. All you're saying is hey, this tribal member got $75 and this council rep got $500. Or this tribal member got $150, but this other council rep got $500. Why is that? Transparency is respecting the people. I hear some of these council reps try. And one of them is these issues that try to be force-fed and be rushed through. You have a council rep that stands up and says, no, we need to take this issue back to our community. Respectfully, that's how it should be done. The community should have, your community should have input in it. You should have a say, and then you bring it back to the floor. One council meeting, I heard a tribal council member stand up and say, we should take this back to our community. That's what I want to do. And I heard laughter from around this table. That shows there's no respect for us out there. When you laugh and saying, let's take it back there, no, you're not gods. You have a 3-year term, and we judge you for that. And this year, 10 people are being judged, or getting a report card from the people. You know, so, you know, we're not to be laughed at. But these monthly reports, this transparency from within this room, you know, tribal president should be out there, community wachipis giving opening addresses, talking to the people, encouraging them, empowering the people, giving them that confidence and that reassurance as a leader. That's what leaders do. They reassure their people. They give them hope. And they reassure them that we're trying. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen that in a while. I hear a lot of talking here about our traditions, our values, Lakota. What's been going on in this room is about as far as you can come from Lakota. There's no value in that. You're stealing from the people. You're leaving us out there with no lights. You're leaving us out there with nothing. You're throwing us crumbs of that pie, but yet you're sitting in here eating prime rib. You know, that's what needs to change. That transparency is, why are you eating prime rib when we're out there eating a bologna sandwich? Explain that to me. How is it children are getting one meal a day out there because school's out? But you're eating every committee meeting, you're eating every council meeting. Why is that? You know, there's things like that, you know, transparency. This Zoom deal is, no. You know, you come here so people can come here. Traditionally, that's what it was, is people would come here during a council meeting to meet certain individuals to talk to them. Certain elected officials to talk to them, that president, to talk to him. You know, you couldn't even come in this building. You know, you just had to write a note and give it to him and hope you got an answer back, you know. That's not transparency. You know, the respect to the people is gone. It's gone. And the only way to rebuild that respect back between the people and our tribal government is change. It's the only way, is to change. And I'm sorry if it upsets some people, especially some elected officials, but you know, we didn't do this to you. These are decisions that you made yourselves to make things the way they are now. We didn't do this. You did this to us. You hurt our feelings, you insulted us, and you disrespected us. So, you know, now the only way to fix it is change. If we have new faces around the table, that's just the way elections work. That's just the way the ball rolls. But that's the only way to change things, to establish those values back, that trust back into this room. And we need to work together. People talk government to government. I think this main body here's focus, it should be trying to work on building their trust back to the people. That should be their #1 goal right now. So with that, to me, that's transparency. Not being afraid to stand up in a community meeting and address your people as a leader. Not to walk into a building and shake somebody's hand and ask them how they're doing. You know, saying hi to people, not sitting there avoiding people because you're afraid they're going to say something to you about a decision you made in the previous council meeting. No, if you're going to make those decisions, you stand by them. And if you made those decisions to, you know, to pad pockets, so be it. You made those decisions, now you got to live with it. But that's the only way that we're going to build that bridge back between tribal government and the people, is change. Thank you.
Thank you, Hawkeye. Okay, Leah, Running Bear, Carly.
I'm very straightforward. I don't have a long speech. Like I said before, I lead by example. My actions do all the talking. And I like what Chris said about the older ones being stingy with knowledge. I see a lot of that coming from the older ones, especially from us younger ones who want to learn and grow and help our tribe. You know, how are we going to learn or grow if we can't rely on our leaders to give us, to lead by example, you know? Transparency is being open and honest without any secrets. We are elected in these seats to listen to the people, like Hawkeye said, the council member, or the council, they're not gods. We don't listen to them, they listen to, the people out here. Yeah, being transparent is being open and honest and leading by example. I believe that I do lead by example a lot. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We've had a couple other questions that had come in, and our timekeeper stepped out of the room for a second. There it is. So, well, I was going to read the list of candidates, but I'll do that at the end. I didn't know we were coming back. But we had one more question come in, and I'll mention it right now, but we're coming to the close of our candidate forum. And again, I just wanted to say thank you for each one taking time out to come and express your views on air so people can get to know you and know what you're about. And one of the last questions that came in, it says, if elected, would you be able to take criticism and not take it personally and not try to retaliate against anyone making that criticism? And so that's the last question that did come in, but maybe you can
Good question.
maybe you can add that in to your wrap up, to the wrap up that you're going to do right now. And I think Ronnie wants to say something right now.
No, at the end, I want to talk about Cherry Town when we get down. But remember, you guys, anything that occurred to you before this opportunity, because this is the last one, huh?
Yeah.
So take advantage. Just remind them of who you are, where you're from, because like some comments, well, who's this one, who's that one? That happens every time, so it doesn't hurt to remind you there where you're from, what community, and take this opportunity, and then tomorrow, let's be going out again. I'm not saying come back again tomorrow. I know someone here is going to come back tomorrow, but hey, welcome back tomorrow if you want to, But yeah, that's all I have. I just want to mention Terry Coffee at the wrap up.
Okay. So then we'll just go ahead and let everybody reintroduce yourself, your community, the what you're running for, and to wrap up and give, tell the people what you want to say right now. There's people out there watching right now. Let them know what you think, who you are, and what you believe. Bye.
We'll start with James again.
So I wanted to save the best for last. But I'll just go ahead and start out first. Again, my name is James Arnold Ironshell. I'm running for the two-strike council representative's position, and I come from the Oshkosh. So if you don't know who the Oshkosh are, then I'll explain a little bit. So the Oshkosh are the traditional leadership of the Sicangu Lakota Oyate. So that's Ironshell, Hollow Horn Bear, there's like a whole bunch of them. And we're all related one way or another to all of those people. So, I've had the opportunity to be taught by some of the finest people that I know of amongst our own people, amongst the Lakota Nation. I've sat down and prayed with Frank Foolscrow, had the opportunity to make relationship with, the relationship was made with me by one of our medicine men, Mr. Rick Two Dogs, Robert Steed, some of those individuals, Harry Blue Thunder, Mr. Eagle Road, used to sing all the time for our people, others like that. And the reason that I'm mentioning these people is because we don't have a lot of them left. And we've really lost a lot of knowledge along the way. My father's Eugene Ironshaw Sr. And my dad passed, this will be a year that he's been gone. And he was 93 years old when he passed. My dad was a well-respected individual. Somebody that gave everything to his people at all times and never shirked his duty. And I'm sure that there's people in here that can attest to that have seen it that way. So I had that, I had that kind of an education from people like that. I had a bunch of uncles and I had a bunch of aunts. And, my grandparents, Charles and Rosalie, they were really nice people, really good people. And it was different when I was growing up. It's not like it is now, not today. It's way, way different. You used to be able to go around to any community, amongst your own community, and you would have people that would not let you get away with nonsense. Hey, what are you doing over there? If you don't behave, I'm going to tell your dad. I'm going to tell your mom. I'm going to tell your grandpa. And they would make sure that you didn't do anything to embarrass yourself, embarrass your family, or embarrass your children. They were like that. That's how it used to be. We helped each other. We didn't go out and harm each other. We didn't go out and fight each other. We didn't go out and talk trash about each other behind our backs. We didn't do that. That was unheard of. If my grandparents would have caught me saying something like that about somebody that I had no knowledge about, but maybe heard something about them, it wouldn't be a good thing for me for that day. I guarantee you. So, you know, the things that I really want to stress to the people, and this is it. What Hawkeye said about change, that's got to be the foremost thing in your mind. Choose wisely. Think about the promises that were made by these people that sat in these positions. Did they deliver them? Or was it just a bunch of talk? Were things done that you're ashamed of? I think so. I think there was a few things that were done that these people are ashamed of. I'm not going to say anything name by name. But you know, it's this. This is me. This is the way I am. I'll look you straight in the eye. I'll tell you straight and honestly what my thought is, and I want to hear yours. If you have something good to say, then say something good. Don't be negative all the time. We get enough of that every day. Don't be that guy that just creates more problems for the people instead of trying to find a solution to the problems that we have that exist today. Don't be that guy. Be somebody else. And I'm not the kind of guy that's going to stand there and look the other way when something not right is going on. You'll never see me do that. I'm not going to look the other way. I'm not going to say something to put a stop to it. I've been like that my whole entire life, and I don't see myself changing anytime soon. So, to me, that's where I'm coming from, my relatives. Every job I've ever taken, I've always given over 100%. I put everything that I have into it. I guarantee you that I'll work for you from the time I get up to the time I go to bed. And my free time, if I'm elected to this position, I don't have any free time anymore. That's the way it was a long time ago with our real leaders, our traditional leaders, our traditional government. You didn't have free time. You were at the beck and hest of the people. Anytime you were asked for anything, you were supposed to be able to give that to them. There's no such thing as free time. There's never been, or didn't used to be. But nowadays it is, oh yeah, well we're here, you know, council meeting Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe we'll have a special meeting, committee meeting, Monday, Thursday, Friday. After that, nope, I'm done. I don't listen to nothing you guys got to say. Don't call me. Don't ask me for nothing. Don't say anything, because my time is done on Friday. It happens all the time. So I know Rose used to sit in an office as one of our officers, you know, and I guarantee you she didn't have a lot of time for herself. You know, never was that way, you know. And that's something that we've gotten away from as a people, you know. We don't hold our elected officials accountable for anything. You know, I'm in the same boat that you're in. I'm one paycheck away from not being able to provide a living, provide food for my family, shelter over my head. One paycheck away. And that paycheck is held over me by maybe an individual that doesn't know me, that doesn't know my work ethic, that doesn't know that I'm honest and straightforward, that I'm a veteran, that I've done things in my life, just by only what they see or what somebody's gossiped about me. Or somebody that sits on a committee that oversees that other person, or somebody that sits on a different committee that oversees that person, or this body as a whole. Now, I've seen it time and time again. It's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And we've all been subject to that at some point or other, at some time or other in our life. Here, at home. And it should never be like that. We get treated better when we go to other different tribes and work for them. Guarantee you, they come, hi, how you doing, sir? I hear you're from here. Let me help you. Find your way around us, or navigate, or just to live in harmony with this other tribe. I've seen that happen. And the one thing that I want to leave you with is, you know, there should be no government-to-government relationship with the state of South Dakota. You have pictures, I don't know if they're here any longer, but you remember those chiefs that have those pictures where they have that peace medal? You know what that is? That peace medal is an open invitation. It's access to the President of the United States, because we didn't fight the state of South Dakota. We fought the United States government, and we fought them to a standstill. And the only reason they made peace with us is because they couldn't defeat us. That's why they made peace with us. We shouldn't be making any kind of agreements with the state of South Dakota, because the state of South Dakota is a racist state. They don't care what happens to you. They don't care what happens to your children or your grandchildren. Every decision that that person up there makes is detrimental to our survival as a nation, as a people. So no, I don't agree with that. No, I don't agree that we should treat with it. I don't agree with the state of South Dakota determining our gaming compact. I don't agree with that. They should have nothing to do with that. We could have our own board that we could put together amongst the tribe, the people that own this land. We could set that. We could set that standard, you know. But I don't want to take up everybody's time or anything like that, you know, but these are some things that I'm impassioned about, you know, things that I want. Just like our housing. We got all kinds of wood out here. We had agreements with the United States Forestry Service. Every time they go in, they mark their trees to be removed, to clear cut and do all this and that. They were willing to take it up to the road. All our tribe had to do was to go up there with semis and bring them back. And bring them to our sawmill. At that time, our sawmill wasn't running that good. But that's still an option. We got all kinds of people out in the communities that are doing nothing. They don't work. They don't want to work. Well, let's put them to work. Let's build this man a home. Let's build that man a home. Let's build this mother a home. Let's build that grandfather a home. Our housing situation is the same that it's been since the 1970s. Same. Exactly the same. We've had, what, 18 homes that were given to us by the governor's homes. We got just a couple of developments out here at the village. Those are the most recent homes that we've ever had built in the last 40 years. So how do we address that? We have homes that are built, that are boarded up, in every community, all across the reservation. You look around here in Rosebud, you look on top of the hill, you look in Parmalee, you look in St. Francis, you look in Two Strike, you look in probably Black Pipe, Norris, Corn Creek, Heat Dog, up a Cut Meat, Antelope, and you'll see home after home after home after home boarded up. Why? Because of drug use, because of methamphetamines. That's another issue that none of us even touched yet. But it should absolutely be touched. Why does it take so long to clean a house? We have guys out there that have the technology. SWA has a CDC unit right there. Why does it take 3 years to clean a home and get it ready for somebody else to occupy it? That's unheard of. So these are some things that we really need to think about. We got a lot of people that are wandering around here that are tired of living grandma, grandpa, great-grandpa, great-grandma, mother, father, sister, brother, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-grandchildren in one single home. What are we doing about that? We're not doing anything. Every once in a while we'll get a little tidbit. They make a little tiny cubicle, not even as big, maybe half this size, for our veterans. Every once in a while we'll see that. So what do we do there? We make use of our resources. We make use of the lands that we own collectively as a people. Nope, we don't do that. What other source of revenue do we have? CLE, right? CLEs are one source of revenue. The casinos, another source of revenue. And then all the rest of our revenue is generated by federal grants, federal funding. If the United States government decided tomorrow, got up and said, nah, we're not going to fund you natives, we're not going to fund you tribes any longer, we're done. What's going to happen? You guys are going to be crying. People are going to be crying because there's nothing going to be available here for them. Nothing. So those are things that we have to think about. We have to move our people forward in the best manner possible. We have to join with the rest of the Lakota Nation, with the rest of the tribes that inhabit the North American continent. We need to get together and we need to move our people forward and to make a place for us. I don't want to be invisible any longer. I want you to stand up and take note of who I am, where I come from. We need to say that to the United States government. We need to say that to the state of South Dakota. They need to know us as a people. They need to know the kind of resources that we can bring to bear, the kind of intelligence and understanding that we have, our ways. They need to know that. And we need to get up and voice that. Not only for our people, but for the rest of our native people that are living here. We could do that. But it takes exactly what Hawkeye was saying, what this young gentleman was saying, Chris, and this young lady here, this man here, this young lady here. We need change. We absolutely need change. And it's your vote that can make that change. Be careful who you throw that vote for. Don't be going around and giving your vote away to somebody that's going to give you a $10 gas certificate, maybe offer to buy you $20 worth of groceries. That's not a leader. That's a politician. That's somebody that plays tricks. Remember that. Use your voice wisely. Use your vote wisely, because that's your voice. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you for your time, Offer. It's really nice that you've made it available for us to be able to say a few things, like that, And I'll ask you right now, I would like your vote, because I'll be a good representative for you. I'll work hard for you. And thank you very much. Good on, Mayor.
Let's introduce yourself, good man, and let us know all about you, why you You're gonna be a good council.
Closing remarks for you.
Yeah, everyone's giving closing remarks.
Once again, my name's Kelly Attorney. I'm running for council representative for the Winter Ideal Community. And what I'm running for is basically, as I see a good opportunity to help our people. A lot of our people are having a hard time, and I look at what I know and can bring to the council seat, and that's my education and my experience. And the areas that I would like to focus on are economic development and education, because that's what I know the most about. As far as education goes, we don't really have we do have a good, we need to support our Tribal Community College, SGU. No one mentioned them tonight, but I think they need to be supported. We need to support their graduates, give them opportunities to work. That would be ideal, is to have our own graduates and then put them to work here. That would be great for economic development and education. Also, as far as economic development goes, we need to bring more dollars in from off reservation to on reservation. We have good revenue sources. Here already we have the casino, which is, everyone talks bad about the casino, but I used to run the casino, and it's a tough job. But the casino's been putting up revenue for a long time for the tribe. And I don't know how much they've given exactly, but the casino has supported tribal communities for a long time, and without our support, council, they're not going to be able to do that. The times are hard, and the casino may not be doing too well, and people talk bad about it, but I see it as a positive. Also, we have Redco. No one mentioned Redco tonight. They're good. They do good things, working to develop our economy. I would support them also, and that's what my focus would be education and economic development. Did you guys have any other questions you wanted to ask us? Or
Kurt, what was the question that Rookie was saying that?
something about criticizing?
Oh, yeah, the other.
Oh, yeah.
There was.
How would you take, Crystal, would you want to get back at somebody's paraphrasing because you said that they didn't like as a leadership, would you be hostile towards someone that would, criticize you as a leader?
Should I read it? Yeah. If elected, would you be able to take criticism and not take it personally and not try to retaliate against anyone making the criticism? And I think that was the last question that came in.
Yeah. You could throw it together until you guys want.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I wouldn't retaliate against anybody for making criticism against me. It's part of being a leader. People are going to criticize you, and you have to take it constructively. And that's how I would deal with it. I would deal with it constructively and not retaliate against anybody. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. And we'll go on to Chris from Black Pipe. Chris Eaglefair.
I just want to, my name is Christopher Eaglefair from the Black Pipe community, and just to answer that question off the bat, it's a very good one, because even today, there's this big war that we deal with that mostly every male deals with, but every person on the reservation deals with. It's this historical trauma that we went through. It's this mental war that we give ourselves. And because of the war that we give ourselves, a lot of people tend to take things personal. Just like a job, you want to bring your home stuff into the workspace. So why would you bring your workspace home? But when it comes to this place, it's a little nitpicky, because it's our duty to be at the workspace 24/7. But there also comes that fine line of understanding that what you do as an elected official is not who you are as a person. Like this example, Russ Eaglefair. His name right there. Sorry, Grandpa. Example. When people get mad at him, they're not getting mad at Russ Eaglefair. They're getting mad at the Black Pipe community representative. And that's one thing that people don't see. They take it personal so bad. And you know, for me as a young adult, personally, I started seeing a mental health specialist. You know, I started keying in on the aspects of my life that make me want to be a better person so that I can be in those situations and know that it's not personal at all. What someone's going to get mad at me for today, tomorrow they'll be getting mad at someone else for a whole other thing. And, you know, like this young man said, it's just the name of the game. That's what you get for being a leader. It's going to come. And you got to know that, well, at the end of the day, it's not personal, you know. And we need to understand that we can have communication. We can talk to one another without trying to, with having agreements without making it into an argument. To find that fine line so that we can come together and do something, you know, bigger for the nation. In my 25 years of living, I've only seen us do one thing as a nation that was bigger than us. And you know, back in 2021, the Chicano Youth Council brought back 9 relatives from the Kala Industrial Boarding School. And this is just one of the many stories to come. But along this journey, when we came back, when we started that journey, no one had faith in us. No one wanted to give us that choice or that opportunity to even do this because they didn't have that idea themselves. And so when we came up here and presented, all the council members, you know, they got on their phones. They didn't care. They didn't want to care. They chose not to care because what can a kid do that I can't do myself? And while 6 years later, we did the thing. We walked our talk. We brought those children home. And it was only on the way home, people started caring. People wanted to be a part of that bigger thing. And when we got home, it was much bigger than we realized because every program in this community came together for something much bigger than them. Of course, you know, they probably just wanted a hand in the cookie jar to be a part of it. But at the end of the day, when you look back, our nation came together. And there's no reason why we can't do that either. We keep going back into this idea of greed, idea of, you know, this is mine only. You know, it's never too late to learn a new trick. It's for the people that are stuck in their ways, like, I grew up this way, maybe you should grew up the way I grew up. Like, no, you can teach me new things. You can show me how to be if you allow your knowledge to be shared. It's these mentalities that we have that make our people sick, that make our minds sick. And these mentalities are not our own. We've learned how to make them our own. We've learned how to define them and make them who we are. A lot of times when people see Rosebud Sioux Tribe with the council, they're disgusted because they know, you know, that person doesn't represent me. They gave me all these lies, but then they do this behind closed doors. There's a lot of programs that are hurting right now because of micromanaging, because the people here feel like they have a need to want to be in charge of someone else just because, oh, I don't like them, for personal reasons. You know, we have directors in these programs for a reason. They know what they're doing. Some of them have way more education than anyone sitting around these tables. And it's not the council's job to direct them and what to do. It's up to those programs to, you know, sink or swim. And for all the programs that the people here want them to fail, they're succeeding on their own. They made it on their own. And so going forward, that's one thing that I really want to put an end to is this micromanaging that we have amongst our own people. To put an end to what can you do for me? Because it's really what can we do for you as legislators. That's all we are. That's all council members are, just legislators. There's nothing more, nothing less. Another thing too is this idea of sovereignty. You know, we always throw that around. Everybody has that, you know, oh, we're gonna save the nation, how do you save a nation? How do you protect the world? That goes into our way of life. That goes into preserving our culture, preserving our language. You know, even today, like he mentioned that we're already in a thingy where we're so close to losing our sovereignty for the idea of money. This idea of money is what makes us sick. This idea of filling our pockets while someone out there starving is sad. You know, and I know firsthand that we're robbed. I remember presenting here and talking the way I am today, and some lady who's still a part of the seat got up and told me that's not how it works here. You know, I used to be just like you. I used to think we could change the world until I got here and I realized it wasn't like that. You know, that's because she became a politician. She lost her idea of leadership. Going forward, I'm true to my convictions. You You know, I understand that I'm young and that maybe there's the idea that someone can influence me, but not. Going, just like this, just like this elder here. I was raised by my grandfather who, just like him, has been around all these prominent leaders. I got to make a connection with, Grandpa Roy. I got to have a personal connection with Dickie Moosecamps, my uncle. To the ones that we have today, however you feel about them, they gave knowledge to me that I'm forever grateful that I couldn't find in a book, that I couldn't find at school. I had to learn my education through the people that know it more than I do. I have my mother that's taught me a lot when it comes to the mental aspects of life, to the psychology of who we are as a nation. And so, this is where the idea of knowledge comes in handy, because it's not, whenever you get something that you have, it's not yours for the keeping. It's your duty to give it out to the people so that we can all come together. Because how we see it, how I see it, is every single one of us, whether we're in this seat or we're out there on the streets, we all have a single puzzle piece. And instead, we're all judging each other's piece. Like, oh, you're a corner piece. Oh, you're a sky piece. Like, you can only take 3, No. If we all put our pieces together and stand back, there'd be a much bigger picture. We need to start hitting the mental aspects of who we are as people. This is just a personal opinion, but I definitely feel like we should all get a mental health evaluation, a mental health check to understand who we are first before we get into these prominent roles as so-called leaders. Because then again, at the end of the day, all we are doing is just talking. There's going to come a time and place for our actions to speak for our words. For the last 25 years, I've been a man of my actions. When I was growing up, kids were thinking of being movie stars, football players. I was thinking of how I can unite my people. And even today, I still try to figure out how I can unite my people. Because all this that I want to do it's not for me. It's so that I can see the stories that were once told of our great nation, so that I can see that sacred hoop come home again. And it starts with you, all of you that are listening, that are going to hear this, that are at home. All of you that are being told no right now just because you have an idea that you feel like is right, but just because the peers in front of you say you're too young or you don't know what you're talking about. I believe in you, because I was just in your shoes too, of being told no, being told we couldn't do it like that. And I know firsthand that it can be done like that. It can be done like that, and it will, because I've made it so. I've done things that without the programs that helped me elevate to where I am, I wouldn't be where I'm at. And so this idea of sovereignty too, going back to that, how do we protect that? Protect our language. We invest into our language. We invest into the programs that protect our language. We invest into the elders that are still here. I had this one lady ask me this past weekend, how many elders are in this Rosebud Sioux tribe? Now that's a good question, because how many elders are in this Rosebud Sioux tribe that we can gain this knowledge from? Because I don't know. And I know a majority of the people here don't know. We may have tallied numbers, but at the end of the day, we don't know, because we don't make that effort to go out to make that action. Unfortunately, a lot of us are lazy, and that's the reality of it. And it takes someone to get up. It takes a kid to get up to motivate the people, because they don't want to be overseen by a kid. And unfortunately, history repeats itself, and our great leaders way back when did something in their youth to make them to who they are today. And if you don't vote for me, that's okay, because I'm still going to win. I'm still going to move forward in what I do with my people. I'm still going to try to find a way to unite. And plus, the next generation's coming anyways. So we're going to come, and whether you want it or not, we're going to make the change that we keep talking about, that we keep wanting. And so, I guess for my closing remarks, I just want to, acknowledge all the ones that are out there getting their education right now to, hopefully come back to this place and provide what they learned here. Because too many times we bring people in that aren't from the Rosebud Sioux tribe, but try to make judicial things legal. But they don't understand what it's like to live on a reservation. They don't understand what living with 20 people in a household feels like. They don't understand what going weeks without food feels like, or water or electricity. They just see what we give them here. And what we give them here are snotty people, snotty, greedy people. Not all of them, but we know who you are. You know who you are. And if you're feeling bothered by what I'm saying, then maybe it's you too. I know that we can invest in our future. You know, the ones that are going off to school, the ones at SGU, the ones that are off reservation getting the knowledge. There's no reason why we can't invest into them. Give them a stipend to $1,000, $2,000 in hopes that maybe when they graduate, they can come back here and be what we need to be a true sovereign nation. To anyone that says otherwise, just think how many people in this council accepted a bonus within the last 3 to 5 years. All those tallied up equal exactly, can go to exactly what I'm talking about. They can go into infrastructure. They can go back to the people that need it. There should be no reason why someone here is getting 500 while Hawkeye is getting 75. No, it should be equal. We always talk about that. We always talk about the circle. We always talk about our way of life. Well, when it comes to, when push comes to shove, we're no better than the government. We're no better than the people that made us to where we are today. You know, when they have meetings here, they start off with a prayer. They sing a song. They do a little thing. But then after that, all the Lakota goes away and it becomes a government. It becomes you, me. Everyone's pointing fingers just because they have this little idea of power and greed. That's a mental sickness that isn't our own. And those of you that say you're Lakota understand that our values are right here. And in none of these values does it say greed, does it say me. It's a we thing. We're the Rosebud Sioux tribe. And I just want you to remember that our way of life is a circle. And what we do comes back to us. And so, you know, one day coming forward, we're going to bring that circle to you from the next generation. Oh, I'm Dr. Leslie.
Thank you. Our next candidate, Emily.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for your very motivating, amazing words. I can literally feel the passion, and I just want to thank you all for that, because I think that's really needed in these positions. And I think if any of us get them, that passion is going to need to be strong to keep us motivated and moving forward. So I just want to appreciate everyone for showing up, but also for sharing. I also apologize. I'm going to look at some of my notes just because I don't want to overlook some things while I make some closing remarks here. But I just want to start by saying, you know, I'm not running against anyone. I'm only putting myself out there because I feel like I do have knowledge in my heart and experiences in life to share, and I hope others feel the same. Growing up, I actually did not see myself as a leader because, you know, even though teachers, you know, other people might have said that, because I equated leadership with politics, and in my mind, I didn't want anything to do with the politics or some of the things that I saw. As I got older and I, you know, am more wiser now, I see that true leadership is not just the smoke and mirrors and the facade and, you know, the campaigning and everything that I thought was a politician. The true leader is what I want to be since I was a little girl, which was helping our people. So I think the first thing that I'd like to say is, along with, you know, my big heart, is that I just really want to help. I really care about our people. I don't care so much about the I. I'm more about, as long as it gets done, let's get it done. I'm, whether when I work for the tribe or some of the work that I do now, I've always put our people's voices at the top. I've always tried to be a bridge or a connector for how can we have our needs also here, how can we have our issues also here. But with that same kind of thought, I also really strive to be solution-based. I think somebody mentioned it earlier, but I think if you know, we sit here and talk about everything that's wrong with everything, we could sit here for the rest of our lives. But I think that by talking about solutions and by talking about answers and by mentioning how we got here only to look for how can we get out of this situation, those are things that we need to do. And so yes, progress is important. Yes, decisions are important. But unless we're able to have meaningful discussion that includes disagreement, I think we're going to be going in circles and kind of be stuck on this hamster wheel that we find ourselves. I think that we can't just be loud to be loud, otherwise we just become mean. I think we have to know when to approach what type of situation. I think we also need a different format or a different pathway to make those decisions. Sometimes majority rule may not be it. Sometimes hiding behind a vote may not be it. So maybe we should be talking about, you know, things like roll call voting or things about consensus building versus majority rule. I think there's lots of options. I think we have so many opportunities to learn from other nations, indigenous and likewise, not just the United States or states as examples. I think that as a people, we have knowledge that we are not even utilizing or bringing along with us and adapting to today. So finding those knowledge holders, finding those lessons and how can we adapt them to today's world, I think are going to be very important. And so I think that's one thing that I've really strived to put forward, and all I do is this kind of, you know, complete holistic approach. You know, I come from a science background, but I'm also, you know, the science that I most led towards was ecology, because in my mind, ecology was nature, right? Everything's connected. You can't just talk about weather or water or animals, like it's everything, we're all connected. But what was missing was our people. And in the non-Indigenous thought, people are above, right? Or we're at the center, we're never part. And as an Indigenous thought, Indigenous worldview, as Lakota, we know we are part of that. And that's what's missing a lot of times, is that balance and having a balanced, good relationship with not only our people world, but the natural world. And just to bring it back all, you know, I think that can be done, and I think that needs to be done. And so another thing that I think I bring to the table is a background in planning. For example, way back when, I don't know how long ago, it's been a while, when I worked for the tribe, I helped develop a 10-year management plan for a forestry department. Prior to that, it was outdated and we were going to lose all the funding. And so I still think I should get some college credits for the amount of forestry work that I learned in a month or so, but I went back and forth from the Rocky Mountain region, and I learned everything that I could on top of my background in science to help not only make this a document that the U.S. government would accept, but that could be a document that was reflective of the needs at Rosebud. Not of all tribes, but at Rosebud. And it wasn't perfect. I've learned a lot since then, but when the tribe passed that and then the BIA accepted it, not only did they accept it, and not only did we keep our funding, but they then used that template to help other tribes make their plan more for them. Not just scratch off Rosebud and put Pine Ridge, but to actually take that internal assessment and what are your needs, what is your overarching goal, what are the financial situations currently, and what's that gap so that you know what you need to get there. And so after I didn't work for forestry, I was just helping, but after that department got that new plan, they also included their revenue. Some of it was like a base increase, but some of it was through grants and other things. But at the time, which was maybe 3 years ago, I think they had almost $2 million increase at that one department because of having a plan that fit their needs and was for Rosebud. So I think if there's a way that we can start big, right? Again, this isn't something that can be done in a 3-year term, but it needs to start somewhere. And we need to be able to not micromanage our directors, but we need to have a Rosebud plan. What is this unifying goal? What is this vision? What does it look like? So that we can ensure that all of these, satellites and all of these entities underneath it are working together. There's not territory. They're not, this is mine, I can't help you. Oh, my funding doesn't cover that. You have to go somewhere else. We have to understand that we're all working together. And that's what I think the role of a good functioning council can be that. And so going back to the micromanaging, I think, I worked for many, many, many years as a tribal employee, and when we got a new administration, sometimes it came in across as like, hey, we're gonna come over there, and if you're not doing your job how I think you should be doing your jobs at the state, right? And whether or not they literally said that, that's how many of us in those tribal departments felt. And so what I hope this leadership can do is support our directors. If they're doing well, help share that knowledge. If they're not doing well, help identify where that need is. Maybe they need training, maybe they need support, maybe they need a sit-down planning session so they can get funding, so they can build their capacity, so they can hire staff, right? But it needs to be working together. Not one department can just benefit from that. It needs to be so every department has access to that. So how do we do that? One part of that, I think, is by identifying roles. And of course, we're not going to solve all issues overnight, right? But even within our HR department or within our tribal programs, we have a way to say, okay, you are doing really great for this job, keep doing it. Yes, you are a good worker, but your skill set would actually be a lot more useful over here. So let's move you around. We have policies and procedures that allow it. Why not do that? I think it could also go a step sooner, or many steps sooner, and bridge that with our education systems, with our classroom settings. By the time somebody graduates from high school, they should not only have a high school diploma, but they should have a certificate in, carpentry or plumbing or whatever kind of interest that they can have a boost for that next step. Because education is important, training is important, growth and adaptation is important, but not every single citizen of our nation is meant for college or for that type of college setting. And so being able to identify people's skill sets and things early on in life would help set them up to not only be successful, to not only fill these needs that we've identified as a tribal nation, but to help that individual grow and help that individual say, this is for me, this isn't for me, and that kind of stuff. So I think that there's the opportunity to do that. Sorry, I'm going kind of way off. Bring me back here. I talked about my planning already, so I think I'll touch a little bit on housing. I think because my approach is more holistic and complete and big picture, I think that housing, like other things, cannot just be a one solution. It needs to be diversified, and we have to know the need. And if we don't know the need, then we're all guessing, right, based on our own individual. And that might not be the first priority. That might be the 10th priority on our list or something like that. And so not only is it important to talk to our people, but literally ask them, what is your need? Not only what is your need, but what are your wages? How do you intend on paying for this? Because we might develop the best plan in the world, but if it's a $250,000 house, how many people are going to be able to afford that? And so, yes, have that option for some if that's it, but we also need to fill the need for as many as we can. And that sometimes that doesn't look like immediate home ownership. So maybe it is having housing settings, or I don't even want to speculate. My point of all this is not every decision can be made right away from this leadership body. We need to be able to go back and ask our people what those needs are, so that we're not speculating, so that we're not guessing, so that we are able to have prioritization and plans that are meaningful, achievable, and that make sense for our current situation. And so along the same line, I know earlier we were talking a little bit about houselessness or homelessness, and I think that something just mentioned earlier about our mental health and having that, I think that identifying, like somebody said earlier, why people are homeless. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's more than that. But there are other opportunities. There are wet houses. Some of these places in the big cities are finding that it's actually cheaper to house homeless people than it is to send them to hospitals or send them to the ambulance or send them to jail or send them to all these other tax-supported entities. And as a Lakota person, it just makes more sense to also want to do that for your people, not just for the price cutting, right? And so it was unfortunate that came from, a very traumatic relative event, but, losing a homeless relative on the street because they were turned away because of alcohol abuse or something like that should never be equated to loss of life. And so being able to use data from these cities that show not only is it more cost effective, but it's also more human, it shows more humanity to house them. Maybe we should look at housing and what that would look to partner with the treatment centers, what that would look like to partner with the adult corrections or whatever types of corrections and the hospitals. I think one entity can't do it together or can't do it by themselves, but if we can each take a piece of that, I loved your puzzle analogy, but if we could each take a piece of that and find how we could work together, not competing, not saying I'm going to do it first or better, but how can I complement that? I think that that would be so important. So again, I'm all over the place and I apologize, but one other thing that I think that's really important is the planning. Housing, you needed to plan. Where's your water? Where's your sewer? Those types of land use, those types of zoning things, those are very important, but it's often hard to tell people what they can do with their own yards or their own land or things like that, but it's very important. So I think if there's a way that we can enable leadership to have those conversations with people, of course, but to have that ongoing. Better planning would help people get home sites, all that kind of good stuff. So I just want to stress that. And then, goodness, I have lots more, but I'll close up. I think just going back to the original question was, what was the retaliation or something? I think I touched on it a little bit early on, but I think that is to be expected, right? And if you come in here with a personal attack kind of sense, you're going to feel like that all the time. So I think the more that we can just be upfront and say that that is kind of an expectation of the position, but also not to ignore it. I don't think every action deserves a reaction, but I don't think every negative interaction should be completely ignored. I think some of these negative comments, some of these negative interactions are very valid. And again, I think in order for us to move towards progress and towards inclusion and towards equity and things that we all seem to want, we have to go through the hard stuff. And we have to get through that ugly stuff. And some of that is disagreement and not nice things. So I think we have to be able to fall back as lakota on respect and just having, sorry, I'm distracted. Anyways, thank you for your time and I'll end there. Thank you.
I just want to, we're supposed to end at 9, but we talked, this is another school, but maybe next time kind of try to keep time constraints,
You said 10 minutes. Just
But talk like, just take as long as you want, so.
Take as long as you want, but keep it.
But kind of a little bit, take as long as you want, but kind of.
Well, good evening again, everyone. This is Calvin Hawkeye Wan. I'm running for tribal secretary position. This position, I want to start, is a very, very important position within the tribe. Right now, it's not being exercised as the way it needs to be exercised. You see, this office doing, or this tribal secretary doing a lot of youth activities. I'm all for the youth, but, people need jobs out there. Why doesn't the tribe hire a youth coordinator to do these things? Why isn't there a youth coordinator on payroll to schedule these youth events? But, you're giving the elected officials $60,000, to campaign on. You don't campaign on our youth. You respect our youth. You embrace them, you educate them, you give them that hope. You be a role model for them. But this office, just recently in a tribal council meeting, I heard that, the tribal secretary regarding ARPA, there's so much confusion with ARPA, it's sad. So they had to ask tribal secretary to put things in basically chronological order, That should have been done. That's a given. That's your job. That should have been already done. Anything you want to know about ARPA, that should have been done. I'm still going to harp on these ARPA committee minutes as transparency. We have a right to know. And if you did something that you're not supposed to do as an elected official regarding ARPA, shame on you, but we still have a right to know. We still have a right to know where this money is being spent, what it's being used on. Why does Unchi? Why is their roof still leaking, but other people within the circle got the benefits? We need to know that stuff. I still want to know about, what were those 2 budget and finance committee resolutions that weren't read into record that day? Why didn't the tribal secretary and why didn't the sergeant at arms stop that and say, hold on here, you have to read these 2 resolutions into record. We read every other resolution, those are the secrets that are going on within this house that, is basically dishonesty to the people. When you talk about criticism, when you put your name on that ballot, you expect it. I made mistakes in my life, but I can own them. I can own my mistakes. I can openly speak about my mistakes. I want you in here to own your mistakes, and I want you to speak about the mistakes you made with transparency to the people. That's what I want. I can own mine. I want you to own yours. So, you know, you gotta have thick skin to do these jobs. If it's an administrative position or if it's a council position, you have to have that thick skin. You don't, there shouldn't be an argument, but it should be a conversation. But if you get defensive over being criticized in one of these positions, then maybe you need to rethink of why you're sitting here. You know, criticism comes along with this job. You know, one thing, you know, that people out there are just totally still mind blown about, you hear people talk about it every day, is, you know, where did the magic number of $10,000 come up for, you know, salary increases? But, you know, where did that come from? You know, transparency, where did that come from? You know, and not only that is not following the Constitution when you did it. You did publish that for 30 days and then take that $10,000 raise. You took that $10,000 raise within days. You know, transparency. Tribal Secretary's office, you know, they're supposed to, you know, transparency. That's what they do. They report this stuff. But I'll tell you something, with a promise that I'll make, if you elect me, you know, while I'm sitting in the Tribal Secretary position, I would never take a pay raise, nor would I take a bonus, because of what's happened in this past administration. What's happened with CARES, what's happened with ARPA, I would never, you know, if this council made a motion to give themselves an administration a raise, I wouldn't take it. I would make sure that the record reflected, and I would do everything I can to prevent that from happening. Because if there's going to be change here, you know, that's not how you come in and saying, pad my pockets. You come in and make sure our people are taken care of first. You know, where's our jobs at? You know, we get criticized here by tribal council, by certain council members saying, you know, well, maybe they should get a job. I can probably say there's probably 8,000 right now, off the top of my head, able-bodied tribal members who can work. But you have 50 jobs on that board. So how do you criticize me for that equation when you only have 50 jobs available for 8,000 people? That's your fault. That's your job here to plan and create jobs and to bring that here. That's not mine. I'm searching for a job. With state to state, I really want to touch on that state to state with the state of South Dakota. You know, that weakens our sovereignty. You know, our beef was back then and still to this day regarding the treaty is with the United States government. We just had a day, they call it Indian Day, don't call it Indian Day. We're not Indians, we're Native Americans. But it's greasy grass. The only time the United States lost their flag, and we took it. You know, so, you know, we honor those people, we honor those ancestors every year with a celebration for that. They spilled blood for us, and what they want to do is just swipe a pen and give that sovereignty away. Give everything our ancestors fought and spilled blood for back to just with a swipe of a pen. There should be no negotiation with the state. None. Our government to government relationship is with the United States. If the states want to negotiate with the tribes, they go see the President of the United States or the Department of Interior. That's how they negotiate with tribes. They don't sit there and come to talk to us and say, well, we want you to sign this away. You know, it don't work that way no more. They need to understand that in this room. They need to respect why we are the way we are today and what brought us to that point. One thing we still have here, you know, that, you know, is forgotten, you know, is first our culture and our language. You know, and to share that, to be able to share that, you know, amongst our young people, you know, to share that through us, you know. So I'm 45 years old, and I'm still learning. And I'm going to continue to learn our culture. I'm going to continue to learn our language. So things here within this building need to start being done more morally right rather than politically right. I think there's a buzz out there, and I think the incumbents might feel that buzz of change. People are tired of it. But you can't blame us. You have to blame yourselves because your actions within this room caused a reaction from the people. They're not happy. One thing I want to talk about, I get accused every election for campaigning. I'm not campaigning on it, it's a moral issue. So I want to throw this out there so it educates people so they can come to the tribal president and complain. So Leah, it's a big beef to me because people receive award letters. I'll give, let's say Leah got $300 a month. Federal guidelines, a federal act says she qualifies from September 1 to April 30th, she gets $300 a month. Well, we had a tough winter. And it was a nice gesture of the tribal council to give $1,500 to tribal members, which credited their accounts. It did. Well, they used that money because all their accounts got credited. My question is if Leah qualified for $300 a month, which you take 3 times 6, you get your math, what happened to her other months? They used tribal ARPA money to pay money. Then she got a letter in the mail saying she got cut off. But where's the rest of her money she qualified for under federal guidelines? What happened to May, June, July? That should have carried over under federal guidelines. I asked the tribal president to address this issue in writing. I know other tribal members did too. I'm asking tribal council members to address this issue. Why are children, elders, tribal members still living out there with no lights? 2023 and they have no electricity throughout the whole summer. It needs to be asked, where was the remaining federal guideline qualification month at? And why were they being denied this when ARPA money paid the remaining balance for that time frame? Ask that question, tribal members. Call that president's office. Call that vice president's office. Call all 20 council reps and ask, where'd the rest of my federal guideline money go? Why do I have to live without lights? So with that, the other issue I want to close on is IHS. Our tribal council still brings IHS down here and complains to somebody who can't even put sugar in their coffee without getting permission from the area office. Where does this, it's been like that for years, but yet it's insanity. You want a lawsuit against IHS, but yet now you want to take over the hospital. You have to first make sure you clean up your backyards. You make sure that you can manage your own federal contracts to make sure that all your federal contracts are in compliance before you start messing with our health. You can't even manage some federal programs that are so out of compliance, but yet you want to manage our health. No, we have a lawsuit, you bring the federal government to the table and you negotiate better health care for us because you want a lawsuit. But yet you still bring IHS down here and chew them out for nothing they can't do. The common sense stuff of that baffles me. We want a lawsuit. Call Washington, D.C. saying we need to negotiate that lawsuit for better health care for our people. That's where you start. Not by bringing the IHS acting director down here from up the hill and chewing them out. It don't work that way. So with that, I want to close by saying I'm asking for your support on July 27th for tribal secretary. I will be transparent to you. I will give you verbatim if you want verbatim. If you need a section of something transcribed, you'll get it. If they keep cutting off tribal council meetings so we can't see them, once they approve the minutes, you'll get them. But if it wasn't an executive session, come down and have a cup of coffee. We'll tell you everything. That's transparency. This is what motions were passed. This is what resolutions were passed. That's transparency. There should be no more secrets in this house. No more. Our people deserve better. So with that, Opila, again, I'm asking for your vote on July 27th. Thank you. said you guys are giving away $100 for
Per minute. Leah. Hi, my name is Leah Running Bear. I'm running for Carmelie Council Rep. Here's a little bit about my background. I'm a single mother of one son. I'm working towards my bachelor's degree in business. I work 2 jobs. I'm dedicated to my son, work, and position in my community. I am an open accepting of others. I do empathize with people because I grew up poor, so I know what it's like to have no one believe in you, and I know what it's like to work hard to get what we want and where we want to be. I am open to constructive feedback and criticism. I am able to think and see the value of diversity in different situations with emotional intelligence to understand different points of views and take them into consideration. I am committed to creating a sense of belonging and respect and empowering our people. We can achieve the maximum productivity in our tribe, our communities, and in our daily lives. Let's start making changes today. Let's keep the big picture in mind, economic development. Think outside the box. You don't have to be in a leadership role to achieve your goals. If you feel like no one believes in you, just know I believe and support you. Anyone who knows me knows I like to joke and laugh, and I'm kind to everybody. And when it comes to being stern, assertive, bold, and standing up to rude people, I do everything with accountability, and I know how to disagree respectfully. I have no control over someone else's emotions and reactions. I understand everyone is obligated to their remarks and opinions. There's constructive criticism and hate. People need to learn the difference. You can certainly disagree or criticize a public official or any person without it being a hate speech. Hate is when someone is trying to hurt you or put you down and isn't occupied by reason or logic or any advice to improve or giving any other advice to improve. They want to lower your confidence and spirit. It's a mixture of disrespect, mockery, and character attacks. Positive criticism points out a flaw in you in some kind of rational advice to help you improve. The spirit is positive. They want to see you improve and do better. My advice for anyone, ignore them. Focus on yourself and let your success make the noise. And that is in reply to your guys' but also I am committed to my role, not only my role, I mean like in my daily life, I see myself as a leader at home, in my personal life, in my community. I get along with everybody because I know what it's like, and I believe that I can and will make a change with or without the council, as council of Carmelie community. I still will focus on my goals and so are we asking for votes? So if you want to vote for me, you can. I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm rooting for everybody. I hope everyone wins. Yeah, I believe in everybody. I support everyone. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to
Yes.
go?
I'm gonna wrap it up, you guys. And then, again, this is the, Paul, I've asked you to do the final wrap up, if you could give the dates for pertinent information. I don't have to read every single candidate, maybe do invite them tomorrow, but, so, and then I ask each to do what your thoughts are. Rose, probably get it to you and just go that way, but maybe Paul last could read up all the reminders and stuff. Again, this was the primary candidate forum. It was hosted by the Oyate Preparedness and Equal Representation offer. The thing is, on this, we do this on our own volition. We do it because we're a grassroots organization. We don't have funding. We do it because we believe. A lot of people say the tribal government failing us, the IRA system, but it's all we have. So we have to have faith in it. We have to keep trying to get it right. These sandwiches and stuff. I know Rose was really shy. Forgive me, Rose, but she paid for this out of her pocket. So if anybody comes tomorrow, maybe they bring a sandwich or something. But we'll have it again tomorrow. So anybody that couldn't be here tonight, on YouTube, someone mentioned, I like that about, they didn't know, and Rookie, the way you answered, we don't have funds for ads. We can't run ads and stuff, so it's word of mouth a lot. What I do say, if you're listening on YouTube, we're going to have another one of these for the general election, maybe August 8th or 9th. The way to remember this is, like today's Fooder Day. Everybody happy Fooder Day? So it'll be just before Fooder Day. I think some couldn't be here because they have a lot of obligations. We're running our elders, and our kids. I got kids and stuff. You're running around helping, people, get their essential food items and stuff. So it'll be before that big day. So the last thing I'd like to mention is we started out with church hot luncheon, but we encourage all tribal members to vote for every single election, not just tribal, that's under the auspices or direct control of the tribe, but all county, all municipalities, cooperative church hot luncheon. We now have we have 5 members out of 8. We never thought it could be done. This year there's one more seat opening up, and it's in White River. I was going to ask my opera colleagues, if they listen to Tribal Council, support us. We didn't get the support last year, but fortunately we're able to secure the 3 seats. But in White River there's 2 members. We have the 1 tribal member, the 2 in White River. This year we could get another one, then we'll have 6 out of 8. So hopefully the tribal fund can help us this year. Once ask the offer people that we should just do it. We'll have another empowerment gathering. That will be in September. It's our manifest destiny to control all it's not just renewable energy, but all forms of energy. Transmission to our wind farms, and is a big issue. The only thing that will change if our energy independence. We have Cherry Top Electric. We need try to meet the energy business arm. You talk about business, but these are things that are just abstract, but within reach. So that's all I have. So I want to thank you folks for being here this evening. So, I know some will come back tomorrow. Say, hey, come on back. If you want, it's up to you. But okay. But I hope to shake your hands with you guys today. But I'm going to turn it over to Rose. Maybe you could say something closing, and Brookie and Paula, you could have the final words.
All I want to say, just a quick good luck to everyone. Thank you for coming, because being in the campaign time for the tribe, I know it's important for people to know who you are. Even today, people call me, they look at this list and they say, who is that? Who is that? I don't know any of them. And so it's good for you to be here so people can see you, know who you are, where you're from, who your families are, and all that, you know.
This is what, you know, stops the popularity contest.
Yeah, is
When
what
it
people
comes
know.
to being elected.
Otherwise, I've heard people say, I just voted for the first one on the list. Or I just voted so-and-so because they were over at cousin's house the other day, or, you know, stuff like that. So at least they heard your ideas. And this year is crucial because a lot of us are very, we've heard people talk, I constantly hear it, that we want new people in there, different people. So you need to get out in the communities, the election's just in 2 weeks, and campaign. And get to all the doors you can go to, all the events you can go to, and pass out your flyers and tell people what you stand for. It's like I think, who was it? Chris or someone said they stand by their convictions. Stand by your convictions. I heard a lot of good ideas tonight. And spread that word around. Other people need to hear a lot of the good things that you guys said tonight.
Please tell your relatives and your friends that we'll be here again tomorrow. And
Yes.
if you want to come back, you're welcome back if there's anything you
Yes.
want to say.
I just want to mention too, probably could, one last thing, really. Lieutenant Camaro, Lieutenant, well, what do you do, Lieutenant Camaro? But I want to thank, RST Media, I want to thank Calvin, I want to thank, the General Operations Department, the security, the maintenance, I want to thank them. I want to thank Brookie and Rose for taking care of our nutritional needs here tonight. But Calvin, thank you so much. RST Media, okay. Paula, yeah.
Thank you, thank you. It takes a lot to put something like this together, and I just want to say big thanks to Ron and Ricky and Rose, because there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that no one knows about. And it's really good to work with a good group of people, and behind the scenes is always Calvin and RST Media. I just want to give a shout out to them and just say, everybody out there who's watching, please go out and register to vote. July 13th, tell your friends and relatives, that's the last day to register to vote in the primary election, which is July 27th. Encourage a lot of people to go out and vote. Let's get as many people out to vote as we can, because, you know, as Ron was saying, civic engagement is the only way we're going to make change. You know, coming together and bringing ideas like this out in the open and sharing our ideas is what it's about. You know, that's what we are. You know, we're a tribe. We need to move together in a positive way. You know, that's one of the things we always used to say. When we move together. You know, and whether it's good or bad, you know, we're only as strong as our weakest link. And so get out and vote. Primary election tomorrow. The forum will be here.
So what time tomorrow?
We're going to be 5:30.
Yes.
We're going to be here at 5:30. Registration. 5:30 at registration. We're going to probably have the same format, to be fair to all the people who came tonight. And I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who came, shared their ideas. I'm really happy to see you. I'm glad you guys are running. Thank you. It's good to be involved in your community and your tribe. You know, that's where our leaders begin. You know, if you're nervous, if you're having trouble talking, that's okay. You know, just keep going, because it'll always get better. I just want to say thank you, everybody.
Oh, what's the election, the primary election?
The primary election is July 27th, 8 to 5. Your polling places will be in the communities. I talked to a few people. They went through judges training and election training for their communities yesterday or today. And so they're getting ready for the communities. Thank you. And I just want to say thank you, RST. And everyone have a good night, be safe, and,
Be careful out there.
yeah, thank you.